Chapter 17-16. Su-yin sighed in his heart. She's grown up. This little girl has really grown up. She's way of thinking and doing things that are beyond her age. Normally, a child of Guogua's age would have burst into tears after meeting a close relative that they hadn't seen for a long time. But Guogua not only didn't cry herself to tears, she even took the opportunity to let Ruan Qingshuang and Chou Yun dissolve the sadness in their hearts. It had to be said that this little girl was really smart. Who knew what she would be like when she grew up? In fact, when Guogua first joined the Dragon Brigade, Wan Guangxiao and Wang Yi had already noticed Guogua's extraordinary thinking ability. Although she was young, she was quite thorough in handling certain matters. She wasn't inferior to an adult at all. Take the training exercise a month ago for example. Although Guogua didn't really participate in the actual combat training, she also participated in the tactical deployment. Originally, Wang Yi's idea was to let Guogua learn from these big brothers of the Dragon Fury team. But he didn't expect Guogua to actually notice a small loophole during the tactical deployment. It was because Guogua had covered up this small tactical loophole in time that the other special forces were completely helpless. During the offensive and defensive exercise, they actually didn't find a chance to completely break through the defensive side that the Dragon Fury team was in charge of. After this incident, the entire Dragon Brigade was shocked. A tactical deployment was quite complicated. The brothers of the Dragon Fury team were all experienced people. They could consider the big picture and pay attention to the small details, but no one could guarantee that it would be flawless. Wan Guangxiao also understood this situation. He also knew that there was a loophole in any tactical deployment. This wasn't so easy to avoid. Those who were closely involved couldn't see clearly. This was a predicament that no one could escape from. If the opposing side wanted to break through the defensive side's tactical arrangement, they would have to find that small loophole. Over the years, the offensive and defensive maneuvers had been training this. Looking at the layout, seeing how to break it, and then looking at how to resolve it after it was broken. This was a multifaceted test of the abilities of the participants from both sides. However, this time, because of Guogua's meticulous thinking, she made up for that small loophole. The attacking team almost cracked their heads, but they still couldn't find any loopholes. The Dragon Fury team played the role of the defending team, and won the final victory without losing a single soldier. And the biggest contributor to this victory was Guogua, a little girl. Shock, quite a shock. Wan Guangxiao couldn't believe what kind of talent this little girl would be when she grew up. If she were to command a battle, what kind of effect would it have? This thought gave Wan Guangxiao a terrifying idea. He even wanted to organize a large-scale maneuver, and one side would let Guogua be the commander-in-chief. However, this idea didn't become a reality in the end. After all, such a young child didn't have much experience. Finding a small loophole might be because she was careful, but commanding a big situation required macroscopic observation. Regardless of whether Guogua had the ability or not, Wan Guangxiao gave up on his idea. He knew that this idea wasn't mature enough. Whether Guogua succeeded or failed in the end, it wouldn't have a good impact on Guogua. Once her command was successful, she was bound to become arrogant and complacent. This was a problem that existed in everyone, especially children. However, if her command was defeated, it would also be a blow to her young heart. Even if this was a maneuver, everything was cruel. Who dared to deny this? This immature little girl still had a long way to go. Wan Guangxiao believed that in Dragon's Fury, under the guidance of Wang Yi, she would eventually become a controversial commander. He firmly believed in this. Wan Guangxiao sighed with emotion. Where did this brat Su-yun's luck come from? He actually met such a monstrous goddaughter. The heavens really knew how to match. They placed such a little monstrous goddaughter on Su-yun's head. She was also a monstrous goddaughter like Su-yun, whose future no one dared to predict. After the last two dishes were served, everyone at the table was completely immersed in laughter. As they toasted each other, everyone's faces were brimming with relaxed expressions and sincere smiles. When Ruan Qingshuang and Chou Yun's emotions were completely appeased, Guogua quietly walked to Su-yun's side. Su-yun didn't say anything. He gently stroked Guogua's little head and picked up a piece of fresh crab meat to feed it to her. Guogua didn't hold back and opened her mouth to eat it. How is it? Are you used to it? Soo-yin, I know that many things in that place will be beyond your scope of adaptation, and many times beyond, but over time, you will always be able to find a solution. I believe that Guogua can adapt to all of this and become a true leader. Dad, are you flattering me? Guogua chuckled. Ever since I came to that place, I realized that there is always someone better than me. There are too many amazing people in this world. There are many children my age who already have unique skills. I'm still far from it. I need to work hard to catch up. Soo-yin felt very gratified that Guogua could think like this. At such a young age, she was able to recognize that she should learn from others. This was something that was very hard to come by. There was no lack of talented children in the Dragon Brigade. Soo-yin was one of them. There were many people who were as talented as Soo-yin, but once they became complacent and conceited, they all fell early. Geniuses were often the easiest to destroy because they all had one thing in common. When they couldn't reach their goals, they would feel inferior and lack of confidence. Once they fell into this situation, it was easy to fall. A genius without confidence was like a piece of trash. There were also geniuses who had a smooth journey. They could achieve any result they wanted, and everything they did was perfect and beautiful. Blind arrogance and confidence would cause these people to make serious mistakes when they carried out real combat missions. Overconfidence would often cause people to fall into the most fatal traps. The Dragon Brigade couldn't even keep count of how many geniuses died because of this. Only those who could recognize themselves could achieve the final victory they wanted. And those who realized this would eventually become the backbone of the Dragon Brigade. Soo-yin was like this. The captains of the other battle teams were like this. The commanders of each battle team were like this as well. Only those who could recognize themselves could become the final victors. This was something that had been reflected since they were very young. Guogua also had this characteristic. And it was obvious that she was the same as Soo-yin. She was clearly very strong, but she was still aware of her own shortcomings. She was also keenly aware of the strengths of others. Only in this way could she become more well-rounded in her growth. She would consolidate her advantages and make up for her shortcomings in the long run. Over time, she would become more well-rounded. What kind of person a person could become in the end all depended on these years of growth. As long as Guogua could grasp these years of growth, she would become a qualified and outstanding member of the Special Forces. She would become the strongest female commander in the history of the Dragon Fury team. Soo-yin hoped that he would be able to see such a day. Continue to work hard. Forget about all your training today and accompany us. Come, what else do you want to eat? Tell Daddy. Daddy will get some for you. I still want to eat that crab. Guogua chuckled and pointed at the Overlord crab. Little Northeast proudly pointed at himself and said, I made it. Ha ha ha, how is it? It's not bad, right? Eat more if you like it. Chapter 17:17. All good things must come to an end. Reunion is relative, and eventually, separation is inevitable. Sometimes these words even sounded a little sad, but it was also an unchangeable fact. Separation after a long time. Throughout the history of the Earth, hasn't it always been like this? Not to mention the small circle of human beings. Separation is inevitable, but grief can be avoided. Avoiding this topic at the right time and leaving quietly is the only way Guogua can think of. The banquet is over. Everything seems to be over, but it also seems to be just beginning. Guogua has been fully prepared. After Wan Qingshuang and Chou Yun fell asleep, she left with Yumerin. Although she knows that saying goodbye to Soo-yin will make Soo-yin sad, she still decided to say goodbye to Soo-yin. She believes that Soo-yun's ability to bear the pain must be stronger than that of Wan Qingshuang and Chou Yun. However, Guogua neglected another problem, because there is another person besides her who came to Guqin Island this time. Yumerin. Guogua has always been taken care of by Yumerin in the Dragon Brigade, but after all, she has never heard of the story between Soo-yin and her, so she doesn't know what kind of emotional connection there is between them. A long time ago, when they were still at the age of first awakening of love, Yumerin's burning love in her heart was completely poured into Soo-yin. For so many years, she has personally participated in all the operations of Soo-yun's injuries. She knows that this is the only way she can help Soo-Yun. No matter how Soo-Yun needs help, Yu-Marin will do it without hesitation. Even if it means risking her life, she will not hesitate. She still remembers the night when Soo-Yun almost died because of his inner demons. Although she took the initiative in the beginning, no one knows that Soo-Yun crazily pressed on her body that day and vented again and again. Even Soo-Yun himself doesn't know what he did. Although she knows very well that Soo-Yun did it because of special circumstances that day, she keeps her mouth shut and doesn't tell anyone. She bears everything silently by herself. She believes that even if it is not because of special circumstances, there will still be a place for her in Soo-Yun's heart. Whether this place is big or small, as long as there is a place for her, she will be satisfied. She had given everything to Soo-Yun silently. From a very, very young age. Ever since she secretly left a steamed bun behind, Soo-Yun, who was punished not to eat, had already been wrapped up in Beauty Yu's love. If Guogwa knows about these things, she will definitely not make this decision. When Yu-Marin also stands on the side of saying goodbye, the struggle in her heart can no longer be disguised. Sorry. I'll go to the car first. Yu-Marin tries to cover her face and leave. However, Soo-Yun grabbed her and said, "You've worked hard along the way." Guogwa is slightly stunned. She suddenly realizes that there seems to be something between them. She is a little regretful that she took up too much of Soo-Yun's time at night, and didn't even give Yu-Marin and Soo-Yun a chance to talk alone. Of course, such a sensible child knows what to do. "Daddy, I have nothing to say to you. Remember to help me pass a message tomorrow. I love everyone. I'll get in the car first. I'm a little sleepy. You and sister you have a good chat." In order not to burden the two of them, Guogwa emphasizes. Those who should leave have left, and the rest are almost done drinking. They won't hear anything if they rest in the room. You guys can talk slowly. I'll leave first. This little girl was always so smart and eccentric. She was too sensible. Then you wait in the car. Don't run around. Soo-Yun is quite assured of her. Guogwa is already a smart person without any special training. Now that she has undergone special training from the Dragon Brigade, she is not someone who can be subdued by ordinary people. Moreover, the car is in their yard, so nothing will happen to it. Yu-Marin didn't say much to Soo-Yun that night. This is not because Soo-Yun is occupied by Guogwa, but because there are too many people. Moreover, Soo-Yun is the center of attention. Yu-Marin is more modest, so she doesn't have many opportunities to talk to Soo-Yun. Occasionally, she will be interrupted by the lively atmosphere. But now that there is a quiet space, Yu-Marin is speechless. She doesn't know what to say. Are people always like this? When you want to speak, you can't speak, but when you can speak, you can't speak. Yu-Marin is a bit angry with herself. She is speechless at a time like this. What happened to all the care she wanted to say? What happened to all the greetings she wanted to say? At this moment, they all disappeared. Yu-Marin shook her head apologetically. "I'm fine. Don't worry." Soo-Yun said, "Recently, I've been dealing with Sky Entertainment Group's matters. It's not as dangerous as it used to be. You, on the other hand, should pay more attention to rest. Don't neglect your health when you're busy. I will be very worried. Don't worry about me. I'm fine too. Yu-Marin, don't worry about Guogwa. I will take good care of her for you while she is in the brigade." The chief said that she is a command-type military genius. If she is trained well, she will become the pride of our Huaxia military. Soo-Yun. She has only been there for a few days and you can tell that she is a command type. Yes. Originally, the drill was for her to follow and learn, but I didn't expect this girl to point out a very important loophole in the battle plan. She directly made up for the only place in the entire battle that would cause us to lose. Beauty Yu was a little excited when she said this. The chief admires her a lot. Soo-Yun was also quite proud when he heard this. This was his daughter. She really gave him Soo-Yun face. But we can't let her be proud. Soo-Yun, I'll have to trouble you to take care of this girl. It's no trouble. Yu-Marin, it is much easier to take care of you than before. Guogwa is a disciplined child. She does things by the book. She never needs to be told twice. She can remember what she needs to do and how to do it. Soo-Yun grinned. Look at what you're saying. This little girl has been directly turned into a spirit by you. It is easy to become arrogant after a little bit of success. I don't really hope that everything will go smoothly for her. However, I believe that the chief and the rest will definitely think of a way. Even if there are no difficulties or blows, they will create difficulties and blows for her. Yumarin nodded. Yes, but she is so young. I am really a bit worried. We were not old at that time either. Suyin. Since she has decided to go there, she has to be prepared for everything. She will have to face what she needs to face. I believe that she can persevere. Yumarin smiled slightly. I hope so. She is a very strong child, and also very prideful. Everyone knows that she is Yanlong's adopted daughter. The pressure on her is much greater than the others. That's because the things about you are a legend in the hearts of those children. She said that she absolutely can't lose face for you. She is looking for pressure for herself. This girl. Suyin smiled helplessly. I really don't want you to travel at night. It will be good if you can stay for one night. It doesn't matter. I didn't drink. Yumarin said, don't worry. Besides, the chief didn't give us a long holiday. This is a special case that Guogua can come out. Otherwise, she can't even come here. Speaking of this, Suyin was really a bit puzzled. How does the chief know that I moved? Who else do you think can order the chief to let her come back to see you and congratulate you on your move? Yumarin smiled slightly. Suyin was suddenly enlightened. Only Zhuolingyue had the authority to do this. Chapter 17-18. Alright, I won't talk to you anymore. It's getting late, and you've drunk a lot. You should rest early. Yumarin said understandingly. The chief will let her come back to see you this time, but the next time something happens to you, he definitely won't let Guogua come out. This is already a precedent in the brigade. Suyin nodded. That's right. The Dragon Brigade wasn't like other places, where you could ask for leave whenever you wanted. Time didn't belong to you, and you didn't have any authority. You could only rely on the orders given by the military. So if something like this happened once, there wouldn't be a second time. If you miss her in the future, then come back and see her. Yumarin said calmly. After all, that will always be your home. The chief won't refuse you coming back. In fact, he'll be very happy. The result will be the same if you use a different method, but the way you're received will be different. That's right. Actually, I really want to go back and see you guys and see those brats. Suyin was a little melancholy. But I feel more and more distant from that place. I'm starting to feel a little lost. I feel like that place has become unfamiliar. Maybe it's because I've been away for too long. Yumarin shrugged. She could understand Suyun's feelings. It's two different worlds. The longer you stay in this world, the more unfamiliar you'll find the other one. Actually, I really hope that you can live like this. That way, you won't be troubled by your inner demons. Suyin also smiled. That's right. It had been a long time since he had felt the unbearable urge of his heart's devil. It was as if with the busy work at Sky Entertainment, his hostility had been worn away bit by bit. This kind of life indeed made him feel comfortable and relaxed. Although it lacked too much passion, it didn't seem as unacceptable as it used to be. However, Suyin was worried. If there came a day when he needed to step forward, would his edges have been worn away by this kind of life? Was he going to become a powerful expert who could command the heavens and the earth? This was what Suyin was most worried about. He had never admitted that he had completely quit the Dragon Fury team. As long as the country needed him, he would not hesitate at all. He would definitely step forward at the first opportunity. I don't know what kind of life suits me better, Suyin said with a smile. But if this goes on, I'm afraid I'll go further and further away. What's wrong with that? Yumarin said, you have the right to choose your own path. You have the right to choose your own life. If you feel that this kind of life suits you better, then why not choose this kind of life? Choosing this kind of life is not wrong. Perhaps. Suyin tried his best to calm himself down. He still had a lot of things he wanted to do. There were really too many things. Yumarin smiled and decided to say goodbye. Well, I should go now. It's getting late. Guogua is still waiting for me in the car. Do you want me to send you? Suyin was really worried about Marin and Guogua leaving together. It was not safe to drive at night. Don't worry. Marin said, no matter what, I'm still a member of the Dragon Brigade. If I can't even handle such a small matter, how can the chief let me bring Guogua out? You can stay. I believe Guogua doesn't want to say goodbye a second time. Suyin smiled helplessly and did not say anything. He silently watched Marin leave, and silently listened to the sound of the car engine fading away. His mood became more and more melancholy. For some reason, Suyin felt especially uneasy. This kind of uneasiness caused him to be unable to sleep peacefully for almost the entire night. A pleasant day passed in a deep sleep. Early the next morning, Qin Wan'er left with Yifala and the others and rushed back to Xinjiang. The busy work made the rhythm of life full of speed and efficiency. Lin Suyin and Wu Yuandong also left early to catch the earliest flight to Taiwan. Lin Guo asked Fangya to help arrange all these. Zhou Meiyan was not in a hurry to leave to deal with the never-ending work. She arranged for Zhou Yeming to go back to Jibei to keep an eye on things. She decided to rest with Ruan Qingshuang on Qingdao for 2 days. On the other side, Fan Bing had almost recovered. After Ling Jiling rushed back to the set, she officially went into work today under the arrangement of her assistant. Cho Yun was a little depressed, which obviously had a lot to do with Guogua's departure. In fact, she had heard the sound of Guogua leaving last night. However, she did not know what she should do to not make Guogua sad. Therefore, she chose to remain silent and pretend that nothing had happened. Bai Xiaoye was quite happy after sending Zhuo Lingyue away. The feeling between her and Zhuo Lingyue was definitely different from that of other people. In other people's eyes, the reunion meant separation, but she understood it as a countdown to the next reunion. Every time they met, their relationship became more and more stable, which made Bai Xiaoye feel wonderful. After everything seemed to return to normal, Suyin received a call from Yang Zhen, which made Suyin more or less confused. Boss Su, how have you been living recently? Yang Zhen laughed and said, I heard that you moved yesterday. Why didn't you tell me about this big thing? Ha ha ha, Boss Su, you don't treat me as a friend. Hearing Yang Zhen's strange polite words, Suyin really could not figure out what he was thinking. Boss Yang, you're too serious. I just feel that you're so busy every day. How can I disturb you for such a small thing? Ha ha ha, I have to thank you for moving to a new house. Aya, you're too polite. Yang Zhen said faintly. Boss Su, I have something to discuss with you. Do you have time? Go ahead. Suyin said. Yang Zhen organized his words and said, I know that an underground expert like you, Boss Su, would not bother with Qi Xiaobei and those hooligans. Let's forget about what happened last time, right? Why would Boss Yang mention this matter again? Suyin said faintly. Moreover, I'm not someone from the underworld. If Boss Yang wants to know more about this, then you should ask someone else. I'm just an ordinary businessman. Ha ha ha, I don't know about the nonsense you're talking about. Yang Zhen pretended to be surprised and said, Boss Su, you don't know about the underworld? Aya, then I've asked the wrong person. Yes. If there's nothing else, then I'll hang up first. Suyin was too lazy to continue discussing this matter with Yang Zhen. He was also too lazy to guess what this guy was thinking. Don't. Boss Su, don't hang up first. Yang Zhen said. If you don't know about this, then I have a friend who wants to talk to you. Maybe you'll be interested. Suyin frowned and did not want to beat around the bush. Yang Zhen, what kind of medicine are you selling? However, Yang Zhen didn't utter another word. Instead, a coarse voice with a hint of treachery replaced it. Hey, my dear old friend. Do you still remember me? This voice was so unfamiliar, yet so familiar. Who was it? Yin Long, it seems like we haven't met for a long time. You don't even remember this old friend's voice. When the voice spoke again and called out Yin Long's name, Suyin was completely shocked. Who is this person? Suyun's brows were tightly knitted together. He was sure that he knew this person, but no matter what, he couldn't find the existence of this voice in his memory. Who is it? But no matter who the other party was, Suyin did not doubt that this person was definitely not a friend. He was suddenly nervous. What kind of trick is Yang Zhen trying to play? The matter was already out of Suyun's control, so he was a little flustered. Who are you? Chapter 17:19. The person on the other end of the phone was silent for a while. This silence made Soo-yin even more uneasy. He couldn't judge, he still couldn't judge. Do you still remember that you once had a good friend? You two were very close. You completed all kinds of dangerous combat missions together, went through fire and water together, and swore to the heavens together that brothers would live and die together in this life. This strange voice continued to come out of the phone. Soo-yun's nervousness inexplicably soared. Every brother in Dragon's Fury had gone through fire and water together, and swore to the heavens together that brothers would live and die together in this life. The voice on the phone continued, however, during a mission, he lost an eye for you. In order to protect him, you also lost half your life. At that time, he felt that his life was yours for the rest of his life. When the voice reached this point, Soo-yun's eyes were already red. Obviously, he already knew who was on the other end of the phone. However, good times don't last long. During a mission, in order to save you, he didn't hesitate to tell a secret that he shouldn't have. The voice on the other end of the phone was a bit choked up. However, you didn't appreciate it at all. In order to shut him up, you even seriously injured his throat. It was because of that he couldn't speak like a normal person for the rest of his life. Soo-yun's tears were about to fall. Men don't cry easily, only when they haven't been deeply hurt. However, in the end, Soo-yun still resisted the tears that were about to burst out of his bloodshot eyes. Not only that, he also took on a huge punishment because of this matter. Heartbroken, he wanted to take revenge on everything. After being expelled from that place, he started to commit all kinds of crimes and killed innocent people. When the arrest warrant was issued, Yu Yinlong actually volunteered to kill your former brother. At this point, the person on the other end of the phone began to get emotional. Have you ever thought that if you were to make a move, even if you killed him, he wouldn't fight back? Yinlong. Soo-yun closed his eyes, and the silence made the air in the office gloomy. After a long time, Soo-yun finally calmed himself down and whispered into the phone. One eye. Ha 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 ha, as expected. You still refuse to acknowledge me. The maniacal laughter coming from the phone gave people goosebumps. Others can call me one-eyed. Only Yu Yinlong can't. I'm your king brother who has gone through fire and water with you for so many years. I am the blazing dragon. I'm not one-eyed. It wasn't Cyclops. No. Blazing Dragon Wen Xiao. He used to be like Soo-yun, one of the best members of the Dragon Fury team, and was recognized as the pride of the Dragon Brigade, the future pillar of the country, the hope of the Dragon Brigade. Such an outstanding person with such a bright future, because of his misjudgment of not being able to see the big picture, caused his mentality to become distorted. The pride of the generation was like a falling meteor, and completely fell into the trough of the world. And his behavior of giving up on himself caused him to become a murderous demon in the underground world after leaving the Dragon Brigade. He was called One-Eyed. One-Eyed Wen Zhao's name was once so terrifying in the underground world. He didn't care who you were, whether you were an ordinary person or an expert, as long as you stopped him from doing what he wanted to do. As long as you disobeyed his thoughts, he would use the same method to deal with you, and that was to kill, kill, kill. When a martial cultivator was completely controlled by his inner demon, his strength would increase tremendously. This was not a secret. Many experts in the underground world were willing to let their bodies be controlled by their inner demons in order to increase their strength. They did not know that this method of being controlled by their inner demons would cause them to be completely controlled by their inner demons. Just like that, when Xiao became the most wanted criminal at that time, almost all the members of the Dragon Brigade were mobilized, and their goal was to capture him. And as a member of the Dragon Brigade, Wen Xiao was very clear about their battle plans. So in order to capture him, the Dragon Brigade spent almost all of their efforts to do so. But to no avail. One-Eye's reputation grew as he grew older. He seemed to have started to enjoy this life of hiding from his former brothers. He committed crimes all over the country without warning, killing the innocent. Once he made a move, he would quickly move to another city. In an instant, One-Eye's name caused the entire society to feel fear and panic. Wen Zhao's depravity made Soo-yun blame himself and vexed, but he really couldn't do anything. He didn't have the ability to control Wen Xiao, nor did he have the ability to change him. The only thing Su Yin could do at that time was to capture him and kill him with his own hands. Only in this way could he completely free himself from his murderous and evil deeds. Su Yin, who understood Wen Xiao the most, finally found Wen Xiao at the southernmost end of Huaxia. The two of them fought fiercely for an entire day. In the end, Wen Xiao couldn't take it anymore and fled with the boat. Su Yin didn't hesitate and chased after him. Even after chasing him out of the international waters, when the two boats ran out of fuel, Su Yin still managed to catch up with Wen Xiao by swimming. Wen Xiao couldn't understand why his closest and most beloved brother would chase after him so relentlessly. Why did he have to kill him? And wasn't it also because of him that he became like this today? Wen Xiao, whose heart was completely twisted, couldn't calmly continue all this. He used the last of his strength to try to perish together with Su Yin, but in the end, Su Yin persisted until the end. Su Yin watched as Wen Xiao sank into the sea, and didn't even lift a finger. He didn't want to, he really didn't want it to be like this. Su Yin also didn't want to watch his brother die in front of him. But he had no choice. Wen Zhao's sins couldn't be washed away in any other way. Perhaps death was the best choice for him. So many years had passed since this incident, and Su Yin had also completely buried Wen Zhao's matter in the deepest part of his heart under the baptism of time. And no one in the Dragon Brigade mentioned the name Blazing Dragon again, and no one continued to fight with this title. The title Blazing Dragon was like an item that had been retired forever, sealed in everyone's memories. Su Yin could never believe that this memory that had been sealed for so many years would actually be opened one day. This rough voice with a hint of evil, if it wasn't Wen Xiao, who else could it be? There were too many things that Su Yin couldn't think of. He didn't think that Wen Xiao was still alive, and he didn't think that Wen Xiao could speak again. After all, when he fell into the sea, he didn't make a single sound. His throat was destroyed by Su Yin himself. Blazing Dragon. I'm sorry. Su Yin didn't know why he said these 3 words. If it was now, he definitely wouldn't have made such a rash decision like he did back then. Perhaps if he used a different method, Wen Xiao wouldn't have walked on such an extreme path. After all, everything was related to him. Su Yin's heart was filled with self-blame, a lot of self-blame. Wen Zhao's voice that could only be produced with the help of a machine coldly rejected Su Yin's apology. Isn't it too late to say sorry to me now? Yin Long. It seems that we really need to settle the grudges between us. Su Yin's mind was blank. He didn't have the time to think about how Yang Zhen got together with Wen Xiao, nor did he have the time to think about how Wen Xiao survived. He only wanted to persuade Wen Xiao to stop making mistakes. Before you do anything wrong, you should stop. Don't do those things you shouldn't do. I want to talk to you. Let's meet and talk properly. Ha ha ha, we need to meet and talk properly. Even if you don't invite me, I will invite you. Wen Xiao said. Oh right, don't think that I haven't done anything wrong. I kidnapped you, Marin, and your obedient little daughter. Does that count as a huge mistake? Chapter 1720. Su Yin's mind buzzed. Sure enough, something still happened. He should have let them stay when he felt something was wrong yesterday. Then this kind of thing wouldn't have happened. Now Su Yin's mind was in a mess. It was really very messy, like a pot of paste. Wen Xiao, don't mess around. Beauty Yu is our partner who grew up with us. You can't do anything to hurt her. Guogua is just a child. No matter what kind of grudge you and I have, she is innocent. The only thing Su Yin could do was to appease Wen Zhao's emotions as much as possible. Oh, boss still remembers my name. Wen Xiao smiled slightly. So what if we are childhood friends? You and I are childhood friends. Did you show mercy when you attacked me? Don't talk to me about special circumstances. Any situation is the same. I don't understand those preaching like principles, and I don't want to listen. You just need to know that you can't order me not to do those things that you did. That's enough. Su Yin clenched his fist. He knew that he couldn't persuade Wen Xiao not to do anything. At this moment, he felt unprecedentedly nervous, because the person he was facing couldn't even be called an enemy. When the opponent was someone you sincerely treated as a brother, but didn't want to stand on the opposite side of him, it was the most difficult thing to do. Yes, the child is innocent, but at the same time, she is also unfortunate. When Xiao said, there are so many innocent little girls in the world. Why did she have to meet you? Why couldn't it be other children? If it was other children, wouldn't all of this have new changes? Don't blame others, don't blame others. Yanlong, in fact, many things are directly related to you. Why didn't you make changes? Why did it have to be others? If it's wrong, it has to be corrected. Su Yin said, I really don't want you to continue like this. The sea of bitterness has no end. Turn back and be saved. How many people have we said this to? Don't you know the meaning of this sentence? What right do you have to command others? What right do you have to dominate others? Why should I listen to you? When Xiao said, I'm also human. I have my own thoughts. I also have the right to decide my own life. It's not up to you to tell me what I want to do and what kind of person I want to be. Su Yin took a deep breath. He knew that it was all his fault that when Xiao was affected like this. But Su Yin had no way of avoiding this mistake. He had no choice at the time. I'm sorry, I apologize to you, but I hope you can really understand that some things are not what you think. Su Yin still wanted to explain. Even at the moment when I killed you, you were still my brother in my heart. My closest brother. Do you understand? Take back your damned words. Let your damned words go to hell. When Xiao snorted. Treating me as a close brother, and wanting to kill me. Who would believe such nonsense? Yanlong, let me tell you today. I will kill you, but I also treat you as my closest brother. Will you believe it? I believe it. Su Yin roared, I believe it. Even if you hate me to the core now, you will still treat me as your brother. I will always believe it. Even if you want to kill me, even if you want to make me suffer for the rest of my life, that's because you still treat me as your brother. Otherwise, you wouldn't hate me so much. When Xiao was so agitated that he almost threw the phone away, he hysterically roared out the last sentence. Then come and see me. See if I will treat you as my brother. After a burst of static, the phone went silent. Yang Zhen looked at his phone being crushed in the hands of this demon in front of him. He didn't dare to say a word. Even if there were many important calls and messages in the phone, he could only grit his teeth and swallow it down. I'm sorry. Director Yang, I accidentally broke your phone just now. When Zhao's empty left, I was not covered at all. It looked so terrifying, and the deep scar on his face made his originally handsome face look even more gloomy and terrifying. It's okay. Yang Zhen swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Do you have any other orders now? Just now. You didn't tell Su Yin where you are. How can he come and see you? Wen Zhao's lips curled up slightly, revealing a sinister smile. Director Yang, you're joking. Do I need to tell him where I am? Even if he can't find me, he can definitely find you, right? Such a simple matter. There's no need for me to say more. Find me. Yang Zhen's eyeballs almost popped out. No, can you not find me for this matter? I'm really afraid that he'll kill me with a slap. It's not that I'm afraid, it's that I can't afford to offend him. Both of you are such powerful figures. The matters between you two don't involve me, right? Director Yang, it's fate that we know each other. When Xiao said, you don't know me, and you won't have the idea of revenge. If I didn't meet you, I wouldn't have the chance to take revenge. So I won't cheat you. He's not that kind of person. He won't vent his anger on you. You can rest assured. Although when Xiao said so, Yang Zhen was still worried. Why don't I stay with you from now on? This way, I can have a sense of security. I don't mind. When Xiao said, you can do whatever you want. As long as you think that I'm not a dangerous person, I won't mind. No. You're not dangerous at all. Yang Zhen quickly said. When Xiao raised his head and sighed. Actually, what he said just now was right. No matter how much I hate him, in my heart, I will still treat him as a brother. Director Yang, you hate my brother so much. Should I treat you as a friend? Or as an enemy? Yang Zhen was stunned again. He was speechless. What the F***ck is this situation? It's not on the same level at all. That, I thought for a while. I'd better go back. Yang Zhen said with fear. Don't worry. As long as Su Yun finds me, I will definitely ask him to come here to find you. At that time, you can settle any personal grudges with him." Wen Xiao smiled and didn't say anything. He didn't pay attention to Yang Zhen anymore. Yang Zhen didn't dare to speak again. He chose to leave silently. He was really afraid that he would offend this evil person. Looking at Yang Zhen's footsteps, Wen Zhao's gaze was fixed on his back until his figure completely disappeared. In this sealed air raid shelter, only the echoes of Yang Zhen's footsteps could be heard. Phew. No one could understand the smile on Wen Zhao's face. No one knew what it meant. After so many years, he finally came back. He wasn't happy because he finally had a chance to take revenge, but because he actually had a chance to meet Su Yun again. That was all. Most of the time, the subtle differences between people couldn't be explained with words. Whether it was Su Yun or Wen Xiao, their understanding of their brothers was different. Therefore, their understanding of life was also different. If the two of them were in different positions, perhaps all of this wouldn't have happened. Perhaps it would have been a different outcome. But fate wasn't something that could be decided by people. Things that were decided by fate couldn't be changed by people. Chapter 17:21. No one could understand how heavy Su Yun's heart was. Faced with Wen Zhao's reappearance, he didn't know how to deal with him. Back then, Wen Xiao had sold his soul to his inner demon in pursuit of power and strength. He had indeed become very strong. Su Yun had defeated him with a lot of luck. But now? Su Yun knew that his strength had increased tremendously. But it was impossible for Wen Xiao not to have improved at all. Wen Zhao's actions of allowing his inner demons to devour him in pursuit of power showed that his strength was definitely not the same as it was in the past. Obviously, this was going to be a fierce battle. If Su Yun wanted to win, it wouldn't be that easy. Moreover, Wen Xiao had Guogua and Yu Marin as his trump cards. This made Su Yun feel somewhat restrained. According to the normal way of thinking, Su Yun should have informed the main team immediately. After all, someone in the team had been kidnapped. Yu Marin was the young doctor with the most potential in the Dragon Brigade. She was a huge asset to all the Special Forces members. Many of their brothers had been pulled out from the jaws of death by her. Many of their brothers' lives had been saved by Yu Marin's careful and creative operations. It could be said that everyone in the Dragon Brigade owed her. Therefore, they couldn't allow any accidents to happen to her. It wasn't just for Su Yun. As for Guogua, excluding the fact that she was Su Yun's daughter and the new blood of the Dragon Brigade, just her amazing thinking ability alone made her a once-in-a-thousand-years genius. Such a cute girl who had the potential to become the first female commander in history. Wan Guangxiao wouldn't let anyone hurt her even if he had to sacrifice his own life. Everything had happened too suddenly. Su Yun wasn't prepared at all. His ability to react wasn't able to keep up with the pace at all. He didn't make the right choice at the first moment. He didn't inform the main team to deal with this matter. To a certain extent, Su Yun couldn't bear to do it. That's right, he couldn't bear to see Wen Xiao suffer. Back then, he had already laid his hands on the brother he had sworn to live and die with. This time, he had directly arranged a meeting with him. Obviously, he believed that he wouldn't blow the matter between them up to such a big extent. Su Yun felt that he should settle this matter himself. He felt that he could not break his promise to Wen Xiao. If he informed the Dragon Brigade, once the Special Forces attacked, it would mean that one-eyed Wen Xiao would be treated as the most dangerous criminal. The order to capture him would be to kill him without mercy. Then, wouldn't he have directly listed Wen Xiao as an enemy? Wen Xiao wasn't an enemy, he wasn't. Wen Xiao was his brother. Even if he made a mistake, even if he had to personally clean up the house, he, Wen Xiao, was still Su Yun's brother. Su Yun couldn't treat Wen Xiao like an enemy. He wanted to personally deal with this matter with Wen Xiao. He wanted to let Wen Xiao know that he, Su Yun, would always be his brother. No matter what kind of mistake he made, he would use his own method to deal with it. Although Sky Entertainment Group still had a bunch of messy matters waiting for Su Yun to deal with, Su Yun wasn't in the mood to think about those things. He left the office without telling anyone. He left in such a hurry that he even forgot to take his phone with him. Luckily, Ruan Qingshuang and Zhuo Meiyan were both on Qingdao. This allowed those who needed authorization to deal with urgent matters to breathe a sigh of relief. He left without even taking his phone with him. This guy, it's been so long, but he's still so unreliable. Zhou Meiyan was speechless. As the highest leader of a company, a phone was something that absolutely couldn't be left behind. Especially during work hours, you never knew what important things could come to you through the phone. After saying this, Zhou Meiyan picked up the phone and quickly dialed the internal number of the security office. Ruan Qingshuang also seemed to be at a loss. If Su Yin acted according to common sense, he wouldn't have done something so unreliable, right? After all, Su Yin had been in charge of Qingdao for a period of time, and he had been very experienced. Whether it was dealing with important capital issues or dealing with all kinds of problems, he was very reliable. Maybe he went to another office. Ruan Qingshuang said, maybe he'll be back in a while. I'm afraid he won't be back for a while, Zhou Meiyan said. I just asked the guards at the entrance. They just saw Su Yin drive out, and he left in a hurry. They said it looked like he was in a hurry. Then why didn't he tell us? What could be so urgent? Ruan Qingshuang was a bit worried when she heard this. Zhou Meiyan seemed to be used to it. Even if he told us about it, we can't help him. Let him do what he needs to do. If it wasn't something urgent, he wouldn't have forgotten about his phone. Before he comes back, let's deal with this mess for him. I'll go look at the contract documents. I'll leave the rest to you. Ruan Qingshuang nodded. The two quickly got into position in front of Su Yin's desk. The assistant brewed coffee and brought it to them. Zhou Meiyan complained. I originally wanted to rest in Qingdao for a couple of days. Who knew that this unreliable guy would suddenly disappear? And we have to help him deal with the documents. Sigh, a woman's life is hard. Yeah, but we should be happy that he's helping us with so much, Ruan Qingshuang said. Didn't you get through all those years when he didn't care about anything? Otherwise, I'd feel like I'm getting old. I spent all those years of my youth in Sky Entertainment Group. Zhou Meiyan sighed. Luckily you're here to help me. Otherwise, I don't know how long I'd be able to hold on. When this guy takes over all of Sky Entertainment's work, I want to travel around the world. I want to travel. I want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy the world. I want to go to any corner of the world I want to go to. I want to live a carefree life. Ruan Qingshuang revealed a surprised expression. What a great dream. If it was her, she wouldn't even dare to think about it. All right, let's get to work. Ruan Qingshuang smiled. After we're done with these things, aren't you going to take me and Xiaoyi to get a facial? Yes. We're also going to get a shoulder acne treatment, Zhou Meiyan said. I've been so tired recently. I don't want to suffer because of work. When it's time to enjoy life, I should enjoy it. Otherwise, when I'm old, I won't have another chance. The two chatted and laughed as they worked. They didn't think about what kind of emergency Su Yin had come up with. Lin Ge also didn't know about this. Before Su Yin picked up the phone, he had already arrived at the film studio. Today was Shirley's first day as the group leader. Under his plans, the extras in the film studio had all been selected and organized. The entire studio was no longer dirty and messy like before. Not only did the rules and regulations restrict the behavior of the group leaders and extras, they also effectively prevented scammers from scamming them. It had to be known that there were far too many young girls who dreamed of becoming stars. Therefore, in this kind of film industry, there would always be some bullshit assistant director in charge of casting. Most of these people were scammers. They were the type that would cheat young girls of their money and bodies. Casting for a real movie wasn't as simple as these scammers made it out to be. It definitely wasn't something that could be solved by sleeping with the assistant director and spending some money. If you really wanted to rely on your body to climb up the ranks, you should sleep with the investors, the producers, or the real bosses and directors. You shouldn't sleep with these big scammers who only had the title of assistant director. At most, these people were just errand boys. Some of them couldn't even be considered errand boys. After Shirley came to organize the circle of extras, it really effectively prevented ignorant young girls from being scammed. There were no more assistant directors who could mingle in the circle of extras and spout nonsense. This matter was beneficial to the country and the people. Lin Ge brought Shirley to familiarize himself with the environment while explaining some of the rules and regulations of the film studio to Shirley. Shirley also listened very seriously. Chapter 1722. Other than their busy schedule, there was also Bai Xiaoye's leisure time. Bai Xiaoye was already very familiar with the hotel management. After the morning meeting, if there was nothing special, she would be relatively free. When she had nothing to do, she could brew a cup of fragrant coffee, sit in the office, and read books and magazines about world economics and current affairs. The only thing left for her to do was to wait for Ruan Qingshuang and Zhuo Meiyan's calls. They had agreed to go to the newly opened spa not far from the Sunshine Coast Garden District for a beauty salon. They wanted to relax their bodies and expel the acid accumulated from fatigue. On this day, nothing seemed to have changed. Everyone was busy with the work in their hands, and everyone was looking forward to what they were going to do. No one was aware of what Su Yin was about to do. While everyone was enjoying the beautiful day of their lives in a relaxed mood, Su Yin's inner world was burning like a fire. He was nervous about every second. He only wanted to use the fastest speed to find Yang Zhen and have him bring him to Siwen Shao. The only place Su Yin could find Yang Zhen was the office of Yang Zhen's real estate company. He didn't know where Yang Zhen lived, so he could only look for him in the office. However, Yang Zhen had just said goodbye to Wen Shao and was hesitating about how to face Su Yin. He was not in the office at all. He knew that he would be caught red-handed if he went back. No matter what, Yang Zhen felt that he had to think of a reasonable excuse first. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to meet Su Yin so easily. Who knew if Su Yin would be even more ruthless than the one-eyed man if he went crazy? After all, the one-eyed man had been killed by Su Yin in the past. Yang Zhen had a rough understanding of how scary Su Yin was. No wonder the arrogant bastard Qi Xiaobei became a big coward in front of him. Yang Zhen suddenly regretted it. It was fine if he admitted defeat, but why did he have to mess with Su Yin? He had used up so many connections and spent so much effort to hire a killer to get rid of Su Yin. When the assassin said that he didn't want money, Yang Zhen was almost overjoyed. But who knew that this assassin had a relationship with Su Yin? If he had known this would happen, he would rather spend money than let him come. If the two of them really fought, that would be fine. No matter what, both of them would definitely suffer. But what if the two of them didn't fight? What if they reconciled? Would he, Yang Zhen, have a good ending? Wouldn't he be tortured to death? Yang Zhen took a deep breath. He had messed up this matter. He had lifted a rock and smashed it on his own feet. The only thing he could do was to pray that the two of them would fight to the death, without a victor being decided. At that time, both of them would be injured and he would be able to reap the benefits. Little did he know that while Yang Zhen was calmly pondering outside, Su Yin had already smashed his office into smithereens. When Su Yin arrived at Yang Zhen's company, he gave Chen Wei a call. He only made one request. He asked Chen Wei to contact the police station in this area. If they received a call from Yang Zhen's company, ask them to slow down and give him some time. Su Yin didn't explain much, and Chen Wei didn't ask much. He was very clear that Su Yin wasn't a person who would mess around. Since he made such a request, there must be a reason for him to do so, so he directly agreed to Su Yin's request. Su Yin, who went straight to Yang Zhen's office, ignored the obstruction of the secretary and directly kicked open the door of Yang Zhen's office. Yang Zhen wasn't here. Su Yin was clear about this. He didn't come here to find Yang Zhen, but to force Yang Zhen to appear. President Yang isn't here. What are you doing? You broke into our company like this. I can call the police. The secretary almost screamed and roared. However, Su Yin didn't care about the threats at all. He kicked the office chair in front of him and angrily said, "Call Yang Zhen immediately and tell him to get his ass back here." Yang Zhen's secretary was trembling with anger. Without saying anything, she dialed the police number. "Hello. I want to call the police. There's a robber in our company. He kicked open our boss's office in broad daylight." Su Yin didn't care about her call the police. Su Yin, who was annoyed and had nowhere to vent, directly used Yang Zhen's office as a room to vent his anger. With a bang, he smashed the coffee table and turned around to kick the mechanical computer on the table away. Without waiting for the secretary to recover from her shock, Su Yin kicked Yang Zhen's favorite calligraphy on the wall to pieces. In an instant, The glass in the office was broken and the floor was littered with trash. The secretary roared. She had no choice but to call Yang Zhen's phone. However, Yang Zhen's phone had already been crushed by Wen Xiao. She had no choice but to call Yang Zhen's other private number. Everyone who knew Yang Zhen's number had an affair with him. Therefore, when Yang Zhen heard the ringtone, he was very annoyed. At first, he didn't want to pick it up. However, in the end he had no choice but to pick it up. He didn't even look and roared. What can happen at this time? If there's anything, we'll talk about it at night. I'm very busy in the company. President Yang, no matter how busy you are, you should come back to the company to take a look. Your office is about to be torn apart. The secretary said angrily. You can deal with this first. It won't be too late to be busy later. I've already called the police. You should come back immediately. Yang Zhen's mind went blank. What the hell is this? Who is so daring to touch my office? Tell me who it is. I'll definitely find him and give him a heavy sentence. I'll deal with him seriously. That person was here. What's Su? F***ck. Yang Zhen's whole body shivered and he instantly woke up. Who? You. You better calm him down for me. I'll go back immediately. And you stupid woman. Why did you call the police? Hurry up and call the police and tell them you called the wrong number. Don't F***king ruin my business. The secretary almost went mad when she heard this. Did she forget to eat her brainless pills this morning? The other party had already destroyed the office. What was she calm about? What was she calm about? Was there any other way other than calling the police? Now she had to admit that she lied to the police. If the police were in a good mood, they could just give her a lecture and forget about this matter. What if the operator who picked up the phone was on her period today? What if she was in a bad mood? Then she would just give her a false police report and detain her for a few days. I can't call the police anymore. If they think I'm playing with them, they'll arrest me. The secretary said angrily. Even if they arrest you, you can't let them arrest Su Yun. Let me tell you, if you don't calm down today, I'll kick you out tomorrow. Get the F***king far away from me. Yang Zhen's anger had already reached his eyebrows. He no longer had the temper to speak properly. Hearing Yang Zhen's anger, the secretary also realized that something big must have happened. Although she felt wronged, she definitely didn't have the right to be angry. President Su, calm down first. Our President Yang will be here soon. I'll go get you a cup of coffee. The secretary comforted Su Yun while finding an excuse to leave the messy office. Once she walked out of the office, she hurriedly called the police and explained that it was a misunderstanding. She hoped that she didn't delay the police's work. The operator also severely reprimanded her. Little did she know that the people in the local police station had just received a notice from Chen Wei. There was no need to rush the company's police report. Even if the police were to deal with it, it would take another half an hour. However, they didn't expect to receive a call saying that the matter was cancelled before the half an hour was up. The leader of the local police station also quickly reported to Chen Wei. Chen Wei only told him that there was no need to worry about it. It meant that it wasn't a big deal. Chapter 1723. Yang Zhenji rushed back in a hurry. He quickly made up all kinds of excuses in his mind, but when he rushed back to the company and saw Su Yun for the first time, his mind went blank. He didn't know what to say at all. In the messy office, Su Yun threw the remaining half of the Mount Tai Buddha light on the ground. Boss Yang, your cigarettes are pretty good. Hey. Yang Zhen laughed dryly. He didn't understand the meaning of Su Yun's smile. If Boss Su likes to smoke, I'll immediately get someone to buy a few more for you. Ha ha ha, this is a small matter. In Yang Zhen's eyes, the messy office wasn't important at all. Even if the entire company was destroyed by Su Yun, as long as Su Yun didn't directly lay his hands on him, he would be happy. However, Yang Zhen's happiness didn't last for more than a few minutes. In the blink of an eye, Su Yun had already stepped forward, grabbed Yang Zhen's throat, and slammed him against the wall. Yang Zhen felt as if his spine had been slapped out of place. But soon, he couldn't care less about his cervical vertebrae. Even breathing had become difficult for him. Boss Su, Listen to me. Explain. This matter has absolutely no direct relation to me. Yongjun opened his eyes wide in horror. He was afraid that Su Yun's hand would tremble and choke him to death. It's like this. Cough, cough, cough. Boss Su, I can't say it. However, Su Yun completely ignored Yongjun's explanation. Take me to see One-Eyed. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Yongjun was completely speechless. Su Yun's fingers were like numerous steel bars that tightly gripped Yongjun's throat. Yongjun could only desperately nod his head. He used this method to tell Su Yun that he had agreed to his request. Su Yun still didn't let go. He wanted Yongjun to know what fear was. To completely conquer a person's soul, he had to let him know what fear was from the bottom of his heart. Fear could completely destroy a person's confidence. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that. Among fear, the fear of death was the best way to control a person. Under the threat of death, Yongjun nodded his head frantically. Even though every time he nodded his head, he would fall into complete shock, but he still did it with all his might. He couldn't speak, and could only use his actions to tell Su Yun that he really didn't want to die. He really didn't want to die. The moment Su Yun let go of his hand, Yongjun realized that the most luxurious thing in the world was actually free. Although it was filled with the smell of smog, the air still made him feel that it was the most beautiful thing he had ever smelled in his life. The most precious thing. Cough, cough, cough. Ugh, cough, cough, cough. Yongjun coughed with all his might and almost vomited. Even so, he still enjoyed the air and breathed with all his might. Take me there now. Su Yun did not give him too much time to enjoy life. He grabbed Yongjun by the back of his neck and pushed him forward. Yongjun staggered out of the office. The employees in the office looked at this scene with astonishment, but no one dared to make a sound. Yongjun did not care if he was being laughed at. He looked back at Su Yun with every step he took and quickly walked out. He wanted to take Su Yun with him and let the two of them fight to the death. Su Yun knew very well what was waiting for him. It was Wen Zhao's crazy revenge, Wen Zhao's crazy questioning, and he had to face all of this. If he didn't face it, the innocent Yu Marin and Guogua would be the ones to bear this debt for him. In the quiet air raid shelter, the air was thin and humid. Wen Zhao sat quietly in front of Yu Marin and Guogua. Although his eyes were closed, his blind eye seemed to be watching everything with a hollow eye socket. Yu Marin and Guogua were not restrained by anything, but they had no intention of escaping. They knew very well that it was impossible to escape. Any meaningless struggle would only bring shame to themselves. Moreover, his target was not the two of them, and they did not encounter any threat or harm. Yu Marin looked at Wen Zhao and felt her heart ache. If she had the medical theory and techniques she had today, she might have been able to perform an eyeball transplant. Then, Wen Zhao would not have become the one-eyed person who was feared by others. Blazing Dragon. I'm sorry. Yu Marin suddenly opened her mouth for some reason. Wen Zhao's body trembled slightly, but he did not open his eyes, nor did he take any further action. It was as if he did not hear Yu Marin at all. His silence made the atmosphere even more uncomfortable. If it was now, I would definitely cure your eye. Yu Marin said faintly. I'm really sorry about that time. Wen Zhao did not respond. His eye was seriously injured. Not to mention back then, even the most advanced medical technology now might not be able to transplant it successfully. The success rate was only possible, but it was definitely not absolute. And now, the injury had been there for so many years. All the blood vessels and nervous system had completely grown into a closed state. Even if someone had the ability to reverse the situation, it was unlikely that they could save his eye. He had long admitted that he was the one-eyed person. Obviously, he was not satisfied with this title. Perhaps it was because Blazing Dragon made him feel closer. In short, he did not like being called one-eyed. However, the title of Blazing Dragon had long been taken away from him. All that was left was the title of one-eyed. After your accident back then, all of us were really upset. Yu Marin took a deep breath. Everyone was very uneasy. It took a long time for us to forget everything. After that, no one used the title of Blazing Dragon. So what? Wen Xiao suddenly reacted. What does it have to do with me whether or not anyone uses it? I'm just an abandoned person. In your world, there's no place for me. All I can do is drag out an ignoble existence, isn't that right? Yu Marin knew that anyone who had experienced what Wen Xiao had experienced would have psychological problems. Don't apologize to me. None of you owe me anything. I don't owe you anything. Wen Zhao's emotions finally opened up. I'm just doing what I want to do. Do you understand? I'm no longer bound by any discipline. I do what I think is right. But do you really think that what you're doing now is right? Yu Marin asked. Wen Xiao, who was speechless, could only retort with an angry roar. If I say it's right, then it's right. What right do you have to say that it's wrong? Then it's wrong, and you say it's right. I have the right to decide my own life. My life is my own. It's my own. My own. Facing the crazy Wen Xiao, Guogua didn't say a word. She clearly told herself that this person had psychological problems. He was sick, so she should never provoke him. If he was provoked, no one could predict what kind of crazy actions he would do. Yu Marin wanted to say something, but Guogua quietly tugged at her clothes, which stopped her from trying to communicate with Wen Xiao. Guogua seriously communicated with Yu Marin with her eyes. She tried to tell her that her method was not only meaningless, but also very likely to anger him. Once he went crazy, it might be difficult for them to control him again. Yu Marin finally nodded silently and agreed with Guogua. She didn't continue to try to persuade Wen Xiao. If there was someone who could solve all of Wen Zhao's problems, Su Yun was definitely the only one. No one else could do it. But now Wen Xiao was so dangerous. If Su Yun came, would he give Su Yun a chance to speak? Yu Marin's heart was in her throat. All the unknown made her panic and confused. Chapter 17:24. A person should be carefree. If you can't live according to your own wishes, it will be very painful. I support you. Do whatever you want. Guogua's sudden words stunned Yu Marin. Is this little girl trying to add fuel to the fire? Wen Zhao's deep and soulless eyes swept over Guogua. Perhaps it was because she was afraid of Wen Zhao's face, but Guogua turned her head and didn't look directly at Wen Xiao. Wen Zhao's gaze was still fixed on Guogua, as if he wanted to see something from Guogua. Your words are too good. Wen Xiao looked at Guogua, as if he had found a confidant. I want to be like this. Whatever I want to do, I will make my own decision. I don't want to listen to endless orders and assignments. I've had enough of that kind of life. I've had enough of those endless scoldings. I don't want to listen to anyone's orders anymore. Yu Marin frowned. But you are a soldier. A soldier's duty is to obey orders. Your duty is to protect the interests of the country. The orders you receive are orders from your superiors. They are orders and decisions made for the interests of the country. You must obey unconditionally. This is a soldier's professional ethics. So I don't want to be a soldier anymore. I don't want to accept those *T orders that sacrifice the individual for the greater good. Wen Xiao said, I want to be myself. I want to live for my own interests. That way no one can restrain me. I can do whatever I want. Is there any meaning to life like that? Have you forgotten? You grew up in the Dragon Fury team. The country groomed you to be of use to the country, not to give up on yourself. The more anxious Yu Marin was, the more she wanted to argue with Wen Xiao. Wen Xiao wasn't convinced. I've done so much. I've sacrificed so much. I think I've repaid everything that I should. I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. Why can Su Yun leave the army and become a boss? Didn't anyone accuse him of going back to the army and dedicating his life? Why do I have to listen to this when I leave? Your natures are different. Yu Marin said. But in my eyes, it's the same. Wen Xiao continued to refute. They're both leaving. Leaving was a betrayal. Originally, I didn't want to come back to this place for the rest of my life, but I had to come back because I couldn't let go. I know that there are answers here that I must find. What answer do you want? Yu Marin's voice sounded pained. Since you've already left and we all thought you were dead, why did you come back? If you don't appear, then everything will be over. You can start your life again and forget all the pain. Wen Xiao sneered. Then wouldn't I be the only one suffering? No. I want the people who betrayed me to suffer. Wen Xiao said very firmly. The one who betrayed him was Su Yun. Su Yun had abandoned him and treated him as an enemy, making a move on him. Wen Xiao could not accept all of this. There were also the people who gave the order to the great dragon god back then. They were people who could throw away all emotions when making decisions. He wanted these people to have a taste of pain. He wanted these people to know what it meant to live a life worse than death. All these years, he had lived a life worse than death. What he did every day was to use all kinds of extreme methods to torture himself and let himself experience all kinds of pain. Because only in this way could Wen Xiao feel that he was still alive. This feeling of existence made him feel more and more pain. He knew that he could not take on the entire dragon brigade alone, but he knew that he could lure the snake out of its hole and force them to arrange for people to deal with him. This way, he could defeat them one by one. Therefore, after experiencing so many years of pain and a huge increase in strength, Wen Xiao came to the eastern coastal area of Huaxia. Fortunately, when he was about to start creating some chaos and panic in the eastern coastal area, someone found him through a middleman and asked him to help kill the boss of a big company. This was a matter that could make a name for himself. Once he went overboard, he would definitely get the attention of the police. Soon, he would apply to the higher-ups to arrange for special forces to investigate and solve the problem. This way, Wen Xiao would have the chance to fight with them. However, what surprised Wen Xiao even more was that when he received the photo of the big company's boss that day, he was completely shocked. He did not expect that the big company's boss was actually Su Yun, the person who swore to live and die with him, but later tried to kill him. This was the person he had always regarded as a brother and hated to the extreme. Was this a blessing or a misfortune? No matter what, Wen Xiao took this as a blessing from God. He believed that since God had arranged this, it was to let him end all his long-cherished wishes as soon as possible. Then what is your most fundamental wish? Guogua ignored Yu Marin's obstruction and continued to ask, what is your most fundamental wish? Is it really to kill? I don't think so. Wen Xiao was stunned and looked at the little girl in front of him blankly. Could this little girl see through his heart? Then what is my most fundamental wish? Isn't it? I just want those who betray me to die. It's that simple. Guogua said disapprovingly. I advise you to think about it again. Think about it carefully. I don't think that's what you're thinking. What you're thinking should be. Well, I can't say for sure. You should think about it on a deeper level. I guarantee that you'll gain something different. Yu Marin tried to stop Guogua, but Guogua became more and more enthusiastic. Why did you become like this today? It's because of Su Yun. But is it because you want to kill Su Yun or because you want to save Su Yun? Why did you violate your duty and your mission? Isn't it because you don't want anything to happen to Su Yun? Even I, at such a young age, can hear the root of the problem from your conversation. Can't you realize it yourself? Wen Xiao looked at Guogua with a blank and shocked face. What do you mean? It's boring. Guogua said. I just feel that you are a little funny. You actually hate someone who you would rather violate all your duties and missions to protect. Since you must kill him now, why did you do anything for him in the past? It's unnecessary, and you will have a bad reputation for 10,000 years. No one had ever mentioned this theory to Wen Xiao. Today it came out of the mouth of a child. Wen Xiao was really at a loss. He couldn't believe that all this came from the mouth of a child. As a person who was confused, he was suddenly enlightened by a child. Of course, Wen Xiao couldn't admit it. Yu Marin was also shocked by Guogua's words. It seemed that all of them were in charge of this puzzle. They couldn't figure out what had happened. All of this was like a dream, a very long dream. In the dream, none of them woke up. Until now, Guogua's words woke him up from his slumber. Wen Xiao, you should ask yourself what you want to do. Yu Marin said indifferently. Don't keep making mistakes. Wen Xiao, who hadn't smiled all this time, suddenly looked up and laughed. So what? Now that things have come to this, black is white, and right is wrong. What I have done is enough for him, to kill me with his own hands. Who knows, maybe the Dragon Fury team is already on their way here. Su Yun will definitely announce my arrival at the first moment, and make this damned one-eyed demon disappear from this world. That way no one will be hurt again, right? No, that won't happen, Guogua said with unusual firmness. My father is not that kind of person. Do you dare to make a bet with me? Chapter 17:25. Bet on what? When Xiao was startled, he suddenly realized that he seemed to have underestimated this girl. The panic and fear that this girl showed at the beginning seemed to be a disguise. In the depths of her heart, she was not afraid of him. Many things on the surface were just a disguise. If this was the case, it could only mean that this girl definitely had a way of thinking that was beyond her normal age. To describe her with both praise and criticism, she was an evildoer that absolutely could not be underestimated. Let's bet on what you're thinking now, Guogua said. I bet that you guess wrong, because my daddy will not treat his brothers who have gone through fire and water as enemies. Whether you believe it or not, I firmly believe this. If you can't believe this, it can only mean that your fate is really over, and you are not suitable to be brothers. When Xiao was speechless for a moment, his inner desire for that kind of brotherhood made him start to waver about everything he was doing now. But there was no turning back for everything he was doing now. His experience of escaping death at sea was still vivid in his mind. He still could not understand the last look in Su Yun's eyes that day. But he was sure that Su Yun had really given up at that time, completely giving up on him. That look, that sigh, he remembered it all clearly. There was really nothing more unforgettable than this in his life. The moment he completely lost all ability to move, he thought that Su Yun would give him a quick death. However, Su Yun did not kill him in the end. He watched him sink into the deep sea bit by bit. When Xiao still did not know what Su Yun did during that time. In the end, when he finally surfaced, he could no longer see Su Yun's figure. From that day onwards, it seemed that all fate had been cut off. When Xiao was rescued by a kind fishing boat and brought back to their island, they warmly entertained him and let him stay on the island to recuperate. When Xiao recovered from his injuries, he did not thank the fisherman who saved him, nor did he thank any of the fishermen who helped him on the island. He even had a terrible idea to kill everyone who knew of his existence in the world. Fortunately, in the end, the condemnation of his conscience prevented him from doing anything. However, Xiao also did not do what he should have done. Instead, he stole a fisherman's fishing boat and drifted with the wind and waves to the war-torn areas of Southeast Asia. There, Xiao found his spiritual sustenance. He threw everything he had into the war, and all he did every day was slaughter, endless slaughter. His hands were stained with blood, and this blood began to devour his heart, causing the inner demon hidden in his heart to grow stronger. Just like this, in order to obtain power, in order to increase his strength, Xiao began to indulge his inner demon to devour himself. Every time he was devoured by the heart devil, his strength would transform. Xiao greedily enjoyed the pleasure that power brought to him. Every time he could use his formidable strength to instantly kill his opponent, he would worship the devil that devoured his soul again and again as a god. Every time he worshipped, he would sink deeper into the pursuit of power. This twisted and deformed way of pursuing power made Xiao a slave to power. He had completely relied on the surge of power brought to him by the outbreak of his inner demons. Blood was the best material that could stimulate him, and war was the best stage for him to show his talent. He did not know how many battles he had participated in. Whether it was joining the government forces of the war-torn countries or joining the rebel forces, he had a stage to show his ability. He used his powerful strength to destroy any opponent that stood in his way. Every time, he would be the one who had the last laugh on the battlefield. He did not care about victory or defeat, and did not care who would lead justice in the end. He only enjoyed everything in the war, and killing could bring him endless joy. Xiao himself did not know how he had survived these years. He only knew that in addition to his hidden identity, in addition to the name One-Eyed, there were people who called him the Wolf of Slaughter. Every time on the battlefield, he was the one with the heaviest killing intent. In this way, Xiao spent the most important years of his life, and what he got was nothing except the pleasure of killing. He did not know if he was still a human. More often than not, he felt more like a devil. Xiao himself knew that perhaps one day, his inner demons would completely devour him. His inner demon would completely devour him. Once that happened, he would no longer exist in this world. Instead, there would be another demon with the same name as him. Every member of the Special Forces, no, it should be said that every martial cultivator in the underground world had their own inner demons. If they controlled it well and cultivated their emotions properly, the inner demons might not break out in their lifetime. Many members of the Special Forces had never been ravaged by the inner demons in their entire lives. This was because the inner demons would only break out when people suffered the most unacceptable stimulation. As long as this was controlled well, it could be avoided. Wen Xiao could not avoid it, and Su Yun could not avoid it either. However, unlike Wen Xiao, when Su Yun's inner demons broke out, there were people who stood out to help him control his emotions. Su Yun himself also had strong self-control, and was not bewitched by the inner demons. The main reason why Wen Xiao was bewitched by the inner demons was that he did not have the help of these good teachers and helpful friends by his side. Without these people's help, Wen Xiao did not know how to deal with this kind of situation. So in the end, he fell into the danger of the inner demons. And Su Yun was lucky. Wang Yi helped him adjust his state of mind, allowing him to learn how to control the inner demons. This made Su Yun clearly understand that the inner demons were definitely not a good thing that could increase his strength, but a trouble that would cause him to lose control. With the intervention of subjective consciousness, Su Yun naturally would not be attracted by the inner demon's power. He knew that it was not power, but a vortex that would endlessly devour him. Su Yun and Wen Xiao walked on two completely different paths when facing the inner demons. One was afraid that he would fall short, and treated the inner demons as his lifelong enemy, contending with it, and under this kind of resistance he would constantly become stronger. The other was submissive to the inner demon's power. Every time the inner demons erupted, he could use this power to complete what he wanted to do, and then began to rely on his eruption, becoming a vassal of the inner demons. Although the results were completely different, the things that the two people obtained were essentially the same. Both were power. Both of them obtained great power. Even if Wen Xiao relied on the inner demon's eruption every time, even so, he still got what he wanted. This power might not belong to him, but it was really erupting from his body. Perhaps this was the unity of man and nature that people talked about, but what merged with Wen Xiao was a kind of demon, the most terrifying demon in the world. The demon in the human heart. It was the inner demons forged by greed, desire, and ambition. Sometimes, its power was really invincible. Wen Xiao, who could use this power, became a wolf of slaughter, and became a person who made people tremble in fear. And the slaughter continued to nourish his greedy and bloodthirsty inner demons. The inner demons made him constantly stronger, and he continued to kill. Under such a cycle, Wen Xiao became more and more powerful, more and more terrifying, and more inseparable from the inner demon's control over him. But the moment Guogua mentioned whether Su Yun was his brother, his murderous heart was suddenly fiercely squeezed by something. Yes. Why did he come here? He came to kill Su Yun, to take Su Yun's life. This was what his murderous inner demons wanted. But what about himself? Did he want it? Obviously, Wen Xiao did not want it. And everything he did was controlled by the inner demons. Chapter 1726. Phew. Guogua let out a long sigh of relief. It seems like you can't even control what you should do. To be honest, I still sympathize with you, but there are some things that others can't help you with. No one can help you with this. In the entanglement with his inner demon, Wen Xiao was defeated once again. He coldly said, I don't need anyone to help me. I only know that as long as I kill the person I want to kill, everything will be over. I won't have to live in this kind of grief and anger anymore. I can walk out of the shadows of my past life. Is that so? If you really think that way, then you are gravely mistaken. Guogua sighed, as if she was very dissatisfied with Wen Xiao's answer. This sigh seemed to be saying that he was already incurable, so just let him be. Wen Xiao's facial muscles twitched. Facing a little girl who made him speechless, he seemed to be somewhat helpless. According to his many years of habit, directly killing was the most effective way. This way, he would be satisfied, and it would also shut the other party up. No one would know what they had talked about. But this time he actually couldn't do it. It was because of this little girl's question that he began to ponder. For so many years, was he borrowing the power of his inner demon to complete those killings? Or was it the inner demon controlling him to do those killings? It was like the chicken laying the egg first, or the egg hatching the chicken first. No one could ever figure out this question. Wen Xiao and his inner demon were like the cycle of the chicken and the egg. If he didn't understand it himself, then others wouldn't be able to understand. I won't be wrong. I will never do anything wrong that I will regret. Wen Zhao's face was gloomy and cold. I have already made a mistake that I can't forgive myself for, so I will never do it a second time. No one will be able to stop me, I promise. Guogua grinned. It seemed that this guy couldn't be dealt with by her little tongue. The inner demon's devouring of him was more serious than she had imagined. During this period, Yumerin spent most of her time in a state of shock. She was not surprised by Wen Xiao, but by Guogua. She was surprised that she could see through so many things in psychology at such a young age. Even she, who spent all of her spare time on psychology research, couldn't see through Wen Zhao's body so thoroughly. Phew. Yumerin decided that once they were out of danger, she would definitely tell the chief about Guogua's talent. It was no wonder that Guogua could see the tiny loopholes in such a strict battle plan. In fact, she didn't start from the battle plan, but from the enemy's psychology. That was why she could find the loopholes in the battle plan immediately. Guogua was the supreme treasure of the Dragon Brigade. Today, even if she had to bet her life, Yumerin would never let Wen Xiao hurt Guogua. She prayed that Su Yun would not be impulsive, and would not make this matter more complicated. They all needed to calm down and deal with it calmly in order to find the perfect solution. Yumerin quickly thought about it. She believed that there must be a way to solve this problem in a stable way. Guogua had already seen through the crux of the problem. It wasn't that Wen Xiao wanted to do anything to Su Yun. It was just that he wanted to control his inner demon, to do something to Su Yun. That was the crux of the problem. If she could pull Wen Xiao out of his inner demon's control, then Su Yun would definitely not be in danger. If she could save Wen Xiao from the abyss of suffering at the same time, then it would be even more perfect. But the time left for Yumerin was not enough for her to think. Even before she could think of anything, the problem had already appeared. And it was a situation that couldn't be avoided at all. Su Yun had appeared. In just a short 2 hours, Su Yun had appeared. It was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Even Wen Xiao couldn't believe it. After Yongzhen brought Su Yun to this hidden air raid shelter, his legs turned to jelly. He let out a long sigh of relief. Now that the two of them were doing whatever they wanted, he really didn't want to get involved. Director Su. The person you want to see. No, the person who wants to see you. Although Yongzhen's mouth wasn't made of iron and copper, it definitely wouldn't tremble when he spoke. But now, he didn't know what to say. He didn't dare to offend either of the two great gods. And he couldn't afford to offend either of them. The air raid shelter was already quiet enough, but now the atmosphere was so quiet that it made people feel uneasy. Yongzhen swallowed his saliva violently. He wanted to organize his words, but he couldn't say a single word. Wen Xiao looked at Su Yun expressionlessly. Although nothing could be seen from his deep eyes, it still made people feel a trace of heartache. That's right, it was heartache for everything about this man. Su Yun's original anger also disappeared in an instant when he faced Wen Xiao. His blame, his anger, and his dissatisfaction with Wen Xiao for actually making a move on Yumerin and Guogua all disappeared. Yumerin, who was safe and sound at the side, quietly made a hand gesture to Su Yun. This hand gesture was the Dragon Fury team's tactical sign language. It was to tell the teammates to be careful at this time. The situation was temporarily stable, and they must not do anything extreme. Extreme actions might trigger a sudden change. After seeing Yumerin's hand gesture, Su Yun's heart was even more relieved. At least this meant that they were safe, and Wen Xiao hadn't reached the point of madness. Can I go first? Yongzhen was afraid that if he said something wrong, it would bring about an unexpected disaster. So he was very cautious when he opened his mouth. It was like a primary school student who had made a mistake facing the most powerful class teacher in the entire grade. However, no one paid attention to Yang Zhen's words, which made Yang Zhen even more uneasy. Even if someone scolded him and told him to squat in a corner and wait, it was still better than being left to the side and not being able to do anything. This was simply a kind of torture, torturing Yang Zhen's little heart to death. Yu Marin's words finally broke the deadlock. This matter, I'm afraid it will require the two of you to slowly discuss it. So, I'm wondering if you can give each other a chance? Calm down, and talk about it slowly. Although Yang Zhen didn't dare to open his mouth to speak, his head nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Clang clang clang, without any hesitation. He also hoped that they could talk on their own. He wanted to leave right now. I'm afraid someone doesn't want to talk, Guogua said. Cowardly people always like to escape from reality, thinking that by not talking they can avoid some things, but they don't know that it's useless. Guogua's words were obviously for Wen Xiao to hear. Su Yin was sweating for her. Wasn't she trying to provoke Wen Xiao? He had just arrived and didn't know what was going on. He didn't know that this wasn't the first time Guogua, this little demon, had provoked Wen Xiao. Wen Zhao's stiff expression trembled, and he finally opened his mouth. There's no cowardly person here. We can talk, but no one can use this excuse to leave my sight. After these words, it directly poured a bucket of cold water on Yang Zhen's excited little heart. Damn. Why am I still here? There's nothing for me to do. Can't you guys talk properly and deal with your own matters? Guogua shrugged her shoulders. Of course, no one will use this excuse to leave. This isn't you giving us a chance, it's us giving you a chance. Understand the situation, brother. Chapter 1727. Mr. Lu Sun once said that if one did not explode in silence, one would perish in silence. Clearly, Wen Xiao chose the former. He wanted to explode out all the unhappiness in his heart. Explode. The flames of anger instantly ignited. Wen Zhao's body carried a suffocating aura of anger as he charged towards Su Yin with such ferocity that it was too late to cover one's ears. Forget about ordinary people. Even an earth-profound realm expert like Su Yin was caught off guard by this speed. When Wen Zhao's knife-like hand viciously sliced towards Su Yin's throat, Su Yin had no choice but to swiftly retreat in response. It was already too late to meet force with force. Su Yin did not dare to guarantee that he could withstand this ferocious move. Other than dodging, there was no other way. Wen Zhao's attack missed and he sneered. Without giving anyone a chance to react, he immediately struck again. A treacherous kick directly hooked upwards, aiming straight for Su Yin's vital spot. Su Yin, who had just dodged Wen Zhao's attack, no longer had any room to retreat. He could only swiftly raise his arms to block this attack. If not for Su Yin's timely reaction, this kick would have caused serious internal injuries. Even though Su Yin had already gathered Earth Terminus Chi to protect his body, he still felt numbness in his arms. This meant that Wen Zhao's strength was rather terrifying. He was definitely not below Su Yin. Su Yin was rather shocked. He did not expect that after not seeing him for so many years, Wen Zhao's strength had actually improved by leaps and bounds. However, in Wen Zhao's moves and inner breath, Su Yin also felt that something was amiss. This kind of power had an indescribable feeling, giving people an especially uncomfortable feeling. Very quickly, Wen Zhao's third attack had already struck towards Su Yin again. This time, Su Yin did not choose to dodge. Instead, he borrowed the force to neutralize Wen Zhao's heavy punch. A move of Cloud Hand was executed to perfection, easily resolving the crisis. Wen Zhao's 3 consecutive moves were ruthless and deadly. All of them were meant to kill, aiming straight for vital spots. If it wasn't for Su Yin's quick reaction, he would have been dead by now. How could Yang Zhen, who was curled up at the side, care about this? He had already hugged his head and squatted in a corner, afraid of accidentally injuring himself. Yu Marin and Guogua did not see clearly what had happened, but based on Wen Zhao's aura, they knew that something very dangerous must have happened. Wen Zhao's overbearing aura made people feel especially oppressed. Wen Xiao was a little surprised. He had attacked 3 times in a row, but he had not really caused any damage to Su Yin. Although Su Yin was forced to dodge and parry, he was unable to hurt Su Yin at all. Wen Xiao was naturally surprised by this. With his current strength, he thought that he had enough strength to severely injure and defeat Su Yun in a short period of time. However, Su Yun was completely unscathed after his merciless 3 moves. Wen Xiao was unable to accept this fact. After all, he had sold his soul to his inner demon in order to obtain such supreme power. When he sold his soul to his inner demon, he knew that he could obtain the power he wanted. Endless power. That power could even allow him to challenge the king of the underground world. Of course, if this power wanted to continuously improve and increase, it would require his hostility and murderous aura. With these, he could purify his inner demon and provide him with greater power, allowing him to obtain greater strength. For so many years, Wen Xiao had been immersed in the improvement of his strength. He believed that he definitely had enough strength to widen the gap between him and Su Yun. However, today he realized that he still had not widened the gap between him and Su Yun. What made Wen Xiao even more confused was that Su Yun's strength definitely did not come from his reliance on his inner demon. That power belonged to him, and only him. That power was purer than his, allowing him to feel the existence of power. Why? Why was this? Could it be that even after he sold his soul to his inner demon, he still could not surpass Su Yun in terms of strength? No. This was illogical. His strength should be stronger than Su Yun's. One must know that their strength was on par with each other back then. When he had not allowed his inner demon to devour him, his strength was not necessarily below Su Yun's. But why was it now? He had become stronger, but Su Yun looked even stronger. At this moment, Su Yun seemed to have sensed that something was wrong with Wen Xiao. That's right, his strength had indeed become stronger. His strength had indeed become stronger, but his strength was clearly not the result of his accumulation over a long period of time. Su Yun was very clear about his own strength. His rapid increase in strength was inextricably linked to the secret on Guogua's body. Now, in order to protect Guogua's identity as a Zixuhoya tribesman, he had asked Guogua to keep Pobo Jade. This qualitative change in strength gave people a feeling of floating. Fortunately, after discovering this situation, Su Yun did not greedily rely on the surprise brought to him by Guogua. He did not continue to rely on Guogua to enjoy this feeling of rapid improvement. Instead, he reconsolidated his sudden increase in strength bit by bit. This allowed Su Yun to possess even purer strength. According to reason and principle, the strength that Wen Xiao obtained from his inner demon was the same as the strength that Su Yun obtained from Guogua. However, Wen Xiao's extreme method had the risk of being devoured. Therefore, even though everyone in the underground world knew that this was a way to rapidly increase their strength, not many were willing to bear the risk of being devoured by their inner demon. More importantly, many people's inner demons were not stimulated at all. They didn't even have the opportunity to obtain this strength. Even if it was an inner demon, it wasn't something that anyone could possess or summon at will. Perhaps there weren't many people who could do what Wen Xiao did. Although Wen Xiao's strength was controlled by his inner demon, it had to be said that his control over it was quite successful. At least, he could only release his inner demon when he needed that strength. Most of the time, he could still suppress the evil thoughts of his inner demon. When facing Yu Marin and Guogua alone, Wen Xiao did not do anything to make things difficult for them or harm them. This was enough to prove that he had not completely gone mad. However, it wasn't easy to control this kind of thing. Perhaps one day in the future, Wen Xiao would be completely defeated by his inner demon. By the time he lost control, everything would be too late. This was definitely not something that could be casually controlled. Su Yun took a deep breath. The moment he confirmed the source of Wen Xiao's strength, he was really shocked. Other than shock, there was also grief. Wen Xiao's current state was inseparable from him. If he had a better way to control the situation back then, Wen Xiao wouldn't have been reduced to this state. But after all, the past couldn't be redone. What had happened couldn't be changed. What was. No one could casually change things. Wen Xiao had already become what he was today. Su Yun could only bear and accept his current state. Wen Xiao, can we talk first? Su Yun said lightly. He had already dodged his attack, but he didn't want to fight back. Wen Xiao said coldly. Do you look down on me that much? No. Su Yun shook his head. If you think highly of me, then make your move. Let me see what you have become. Wen Xiao was prepared to withstand Su Yun's attack. Chapter 1728. Su Yun really didn't want to make a move. Looking at the current Wen Xiao, a Wen Xiao who had been chased by the so-called power and tortured into something that was neither human nor ghost, Su Yun's heart ached. Do you know what you're doing now? Su Yun didn't make a move on Wen Xiao. Instead, he tried his best to calm his emotions and use a gentle tone to speak to him. If it was in the past, Su Yun really wanted to give him a fierce slap and ask him what he was trying to do. Did he have to personally destroy himself before he was satisfied? It was just that things were different now. Wen Xiao was no longer the brother who would quietly listen to his reasoning, nor would he consider his words as priceless advice to ponder over. Su Yun only hoped that his words wouldn't agitate Wen Xiao. That was enough. Relying on the untouchable taboo in your heart to obtain the power you want. How crazy is that? Su Yun continued. If one day you are completely devoured by your inner demons, there will be no turning back. You will become a demon that you didn't want to become. Do you know that? Wen Xiao sneered. I have already become a demon that I didn't want to become. There is no turning back. I am no longer a child who wants to listen to your preaching. Can you let me go? Don't tell me that our long-awaited meeting is going to become a life philosophy lesson. I don't want to preach to you. I just don't want you to become like this. Su Yun knew that his words were pale and powerless, but he still didn't want to give up. Wen Xiao laughed wildly. I didn't come to find you to discuss life philosophy. Su Yun, I came to find you because I wanted to see to what extent you, Yin Long, have become after so many years. Fortunately, you really didn't disappoint me. You are worthy of being my early idol. Boss, you really make me very excited. Su Yun's furrowed brows and Wen Xiao's crazy and twisted smile formed a sharp contrast. The two of them were clearly conflicted in their hearts, but they expressed it in two completely different ways. Everything that happened in the past was my fault. I should have thought of a better way to solve this matter. Now it wouldn't have become like this. Su Yun's apology was sincere. Do you know what kind of feeling you give me when you say this? Wen Xiao said. Just like crocodile tears full of deceit. Make your move. Don't say so much nonsense to me. You know me. If you don't make your move, I will definitely find a way to force you to. Su Yun was startled. He knew what Wen Xiao meant. He definitely didn't bring Yu Marin and Guogua here just to make him show his face. Because even if Wen Xiao didn't have any evidence against him, as long as he appeared and said that he wanted to see him, Su Yun would come to him without hesitation. Su Yun's heart was full of guilt toward Wen Xiao. It was a kind of guilt that couldn't be described with words. Such as Su Yun couldn't do anything to Wen Xiao. But now, Wen Xiao wanted to have a good fight with Su Yun. He wanted to let the angry Su Yun play a showdown with him. No matter who the final winner was, Wen Xiao would have no regrets. That was why Wen Xiao brought Yu Marin and Guogua here. If Su Yun chose to escape, he wanted Su Yun to see the people he cared about suffer misfortune with his own eyes. That way he could stimulate the craziest Su Yun. After all, Wen Xiao didn't know that Su Yun's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. He thought that he could use this method to stimulate Su Yun and let Su Yun feel the power of the inner demon. He wanted to let Su Yun feel the feeling of supreme strength. Su Yun had experienced that feeling before, but Wen Xiao didn't know. When Yin Long died, Wen Zhao's whereabouts were unknown. He was believed to be buried in the belly of a fish. So Wen Xiao didn't know that Su Yun had done something terrible that caused him to be expelled from the Dragon Brigade. Don't do anything stupid. Su Yun knew that he couldn't avoid a battle with Wen Xiao. If he didn't make a move, Wen Xiao would target Yu Marin and Guogua. With Wen Zhao's current state and the speed of his attacks, Su Yun didn't have absolute confidence in protecting Yu Marin and Guogua. He could only push himself into this sea of fire and let Wen Xiao focus all of his anger on himself. Wen Zhao's scary voice was like an old machine. The reason why I can still speak now is all thanks to the advanced medical technology. Otherwise, there are many things that I wouldn't be able to tell you. Back then, it was you who made me lose my voice. Today, shouldn't you pay me back? Wen Xiao wanted to save Su Yun, so he wanted to tell him a secret that he couldn't tell. Su Yun wanted to keep the secret, so he turned Wen Xiao into a mute. Both of them didn't do it for themselves. But because of this, Wen Xiao, who had always treated Su Yin as the closest person in his heart, became the ultimate victim. You really want me to do something outrageous to force you, so you're ready to attack me? Wen Xiao had lost his patience. Su Yin finally exploded. His figure changed and he suddenly attacked Wen Xiao. However, his attack wasn't a killing move, but a grappling hand. As long as he was fast enough, had enough strength, and could catch his opponent off guard, he could effectively capture his opponent. This wasn't a method commonly used in life and death battles. It was a very common grappling technique that was often used in daily training. Su Yun's attack was fast and violent. When Wen Xiao saw this familiar grappling move, he reacted instinctively and easily neutralized it. Instantly, a feeling of humiliation welled up in Wen Xiao's heart. Wen Xiao wasn't prepared to say anything to Su Yun. He directly targeted Yu Marin and Guagua. Su Yin exclaimed in his heart. Actually, he was already regretting it when he attacked. He couldn't wait until he regretted it. Su Yin had no choice. He suddenly turned the grappling hand into a sharp blade and attacked Wen Xiao's throat with a karate chop. This was the move he used to make Wen Xiao lose his voice. Wen Xiao's expression changed drastically. He couldn't care less about Yu Marin and Guagua. He quickly retreated and dodged Su Yun's karate chop. But Su Yun's fist wind, which followed closely behind, had already reached him. That suffocating feeling made Wen Xiao even more agitated. Originally, Su Yun's move was sure to hit, but he hesitated at the most critical moment. The fist wind changed direction and went straight for Wen Xiao's chest. But that slight hesitation was enough for Wen Xiao to react. Wen Xiao completely ignored his defense and met the attack with attack. When Su Yun's fist came, he clenched his fists and punched fiercely at Su Yun's heart. In a duel between experts, even the simplest punch and kick should not be underestimated. The two of them were hit at the same time. Su Yun's body flew a few meters away, while Wen Xiao also staggered back a few steps. Su Yun stabilized his lower body, but there was still a trace of blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Obviously, Su Yun was injured. Wen Xiao's attack just now was full of strength, and he did not have the slightest intention of holding back. After all, his inner demons had basically taken control of him. When encountering an opponent, Wen Xiao would not hold back, no matter who the opponent was. Just as Wen Xiao was about to mock him, he felt a surge in his chest. Before he could say a word, he spat out a small mouthful of blood. Wen Xiao's lips and chin were dyed red with blood. But Wen Xiao was not angry because of his injury. Instead, he became even more excited. The malevolence on his face was as if he wanted to eat everyone alive. Wen Xiao let out a bone-chilling laugh as he licked the blood stains on his lips. His expression looked so satisfied. Chapter 1729. Finally, there was blood. Although Yang Zhen, who was curled up at the side, didn't understand what was going on, he couldn't help but raise his head from the terrifying laughter. He didn't dare to look at what happened just now, but both of them had blood dripping from their mouths and looked extremely terrifying. Based on the current situation, there must have been a fierce battle just now. Yang Zhen swallowed a mouthful of saliva. If he had known earlier, he would have taken advantage of the two's fierce battle to escape. Now that both of them had quieted down and were injured, it would be easier for them to be angered. It was better to be careful and continue to curl up obediently. If this situation continued, one of them would die sooner or later. Continue. I like this kind of feeling. Boss, bring out your domineering aura. Since you have such strength, then let me see, after all these years, whether I'm better, or you're better. The blood seemed to have angered Wen Xiao's heart demon. As his voice fell, he madly attacked Su Yun. That lightning-fast move was like a meteor shower that pounced on his face. Every move was aimed at Su Yun's vital points. It was definitely a killer move. As long as Su Yun wasn't careful and got hit, then there would be no way for him to turn the situation around. In such a quick battle, Su Yun had no choice but to retaliate and pressure Wen Xiao. When Su Yun finally retaliated and attacked Wen Xiao's vital points, Wen Xiao seemed to become even more excited. He liked this kind of feeling too much. The feeling of madness. That feeling of being able to kill someone at any time and place, and also being able to be killed at any time and place, made Wen Xiao deeply immersed in it. This kind of peak-level confrontation was really rare to see. Su Yin was already an Earth-profound realm expert. Not to mention that it was rare in this world. Even if there were, most of them had already retired. So to see an expert of this level in action, it was simply something that could only be encountered and not sought. Similarly, Wen Xiao, who was suffering from the heart demon's backlash, had an explosive increase in strength. Wen Zhao's tolerance towards the heart demon seemed to be much higher than ordinary people. So even when facing an earth-profound realm expert like Su Yun, Wen Xiao didn't fall into a disadvantage at all. All these years of killing had caused his inner demons to grow especially quickly, and when he was devoured by his inner demons, his terrifying strength was obvious. Even Yu Marin, who had studied the power of inner demons for many years, could not understand this situation. According to an ordinary person, no, it should be said that according to the endurance of an ordinary expert, Wen Zhao's heart demon backlash would have long since engulfed a person, but Wen Xiao was actually still able to control it. Even someone like Su Yun, who was born with extraordinary willpower, would find it difficult to control himself when facing the backlash of his inner demons. There were even times when his life was in danger. She still clearly remembered that time when she had to use that method to draw out Su Yun's demonic nature and save Su Yun's life. Wen Xiao, on the other hand, could allow his inner demons to erupt and borrow unlimited amounts of that special power without turning into a demon. This was simply a marvel of human nature. However, Yu Marin was also very clear that there was a limit to the endurance of a human body, and once this limit was broken, it would be like Su Yun's last time where his life would be in danger. Wen Zhao's limit might be difficult to guess, but he would have a limit after all, and with a limit, there would be a day when it would be broken. Wen Zhao's crazy attacks still continued, and every time he attacked, Su Yun would have to use all his strength to parry. Su Yun couldn't help but sigh at the terror of this inner demon power. If a person could control this power, then it would simply be the transformation of a Super Saiyan. At most, Wen Zhao's strength had just broken through to the Grandmaster realm, but with the help of the inner demon power he, an expert who had already broken through to the Earth-profound realm, was able to parry everywhere. It was simply inconceivable. Soon, there was a special feeling that made Su Yun somewhat uncomfortable. Wen Zhao's inner demon power not only affected Wen Zhao's strength, but also affected Su Yun to some extent. Su Yun actually had an inexplicable impulse to obtain that power. Let's use a simple way to explain it. Su Yun was also someone who had experienced the outbreak of his inner demon. Moreover, it wasn't just once but many times. And every time, Su Yun's inner demon would torment him half to death. This illustrated a very serious problem. A person's inner demon was the same as a person, and it was also divided into strong and weak. The stronger a person was, the stronger his inner demon would be. There was no doubt about this. And Su Yun was even more so. Everything about him was naturally stronger than ordinary people, because his father was Su Chen, and his inner demon was certainly something that others couldn't bear. Therefore, Su Yun's inner demon was very difficult to control. It was the kind that had a strong backlash ability. Once it broke out, it could even swallow the entire person's heart in a short period of time, turning the person into another person who had turned into a devil. And after turning into a devil, if there wasn't a strong person to control it, once it exceeded 24 hours, then it would be completely incurable. The inner demon would completely change a person's thoughts during this period of time. It wasn't that the underground world didn't have people who turned into devils in pursuit of power. Although these people had strength, they didn't have humanity. Without humanity, they couldn't be considered a person at all. The inner demon would do all kinds of evil things, and in the end, no one would get a good result. These people were either dead or locked up in the prison of Marty Franz Island. They couldn't exist in this world. They couldn't exist in this society. Their danger was simply unpredictable. Perhaps it was because Wen Zhao's inner demon wasn't that scary. Compared to Su Yun's inner demon, it was easier to control. That was why Wen Xiao could persist for so many years without turning into a devil. There was also a possibility that Wen Xiao had some special way to control himself from turning into a devil. If this was the result of turning into a devil, Yu Marin really wanted to know the reason and principle behind it. Once she could figure out this problem, it would be extremely helpful for her research on inner demons. It would also be of great help to Su Yun. That way, she wouldn't have to worry about Su Yun's inner demon erupting again. If it could be controlled, then at least Su Yun wouldn't be in a situation where his life and death would be unknown. Yu Marin had enough of that feeling. She definitely didn't want to have that kind of feeling again. Perhaps it was because inner demons could sense each other's inner demons, so when Su Yun and Wen Xiao fought, Su Yun's inner demons also surged several times. That kind of subtle surge might not be noticed by Su Yun, but Wen Xiao's inner demon could feel it. The conflict between the two demons made Wen Xiao even more eager to see Su Yun's inner demon erupt. Although Su Yun was trying his best to control it, that kind of terrifying thought would uncontrollably appear in his mind. That's right, it was the kind of irritation that Su Yun's inner demon had. It didn't want to endure Su Yun's control anymore. It also hoped that it could be like him, completely erupting and killing everything around it. Burn everything. Destroy everything. It was enough for the entire world to have it. Su Yun's inner demon was far more terrifying than imagined. Once it erupted, it would be uncontrollable. When this terrifying thought appeared, Su Yun had no choice but to retreat continuously to avoid Wen Zhao's attacks. He felt that he needed to calm down. If this continued, he didn't dare to believe what would happen to him. After so many years, this was the first time Su Yun actually had the desire to use his inner demon's power. He had to nip this terrifying thought in the bud. He was very clear that this was not what he wanted. It was because of Wen Zhao's inner demon. He needed to calm down. He needed to calm down and suppress all these problems. Su Yun continuously retreated to avoid Wen Zhao's attacks, completely widening the distance between him and Wen Xiao. Only then did the terrifying thought in his mind calm down slightly. Huff, huff, huff. Su Yun breathed heavily to adjust his breathing, doing his best to completely erase that terrifying thought from his mind. Chapter 1730. I know you don't want to control it anymore. Wen Zhao's ghostly voice had begun to waver. At this moment, no one knew whether he was controlling the power of the inner demon, or if the power of the inner demon had already taken control of him. Be angry. Use your strongest power to defeat me, or I will definitely make you regret it. With Su Yun's current pure strength, he was afraid that he would not be able to defeat Wen Xiao completely in a short time. Su Yun had felt the power of the inner demon. This kind of power would make people completely forget the pain caused by their injuries, as if everything in their body no longer belonged to them, and they were just a tool to fight. Wen Xiao was probably feeling this way now. Many things were out of his control. He no longer had the fear of pain or even death. At this time, a person's attack power would be raised to the extreme. This was the biggest dilemma that Su Yun had to face. Su Yun could not risk his life like that, and he could not risk his life against the brother in his heart. Wen Xiao, wake up. Don't go on like this. I don't believe you are someone who gives up so easily. Is the power given to you by the inner demon enough to make you lose yourself completely? If that's the case, can you still live up to your identity? Don't forget, you were trained by Dragon's Fury. There are no cowards trained by Dragon's Fury. Don't make me look down on you. You still know that I was trained by Dragon's Fury. Wen Zhao's eyes widened. Yes, I admit it, I will always remember this. But I also won't forget that I was also abandoned by Dragon's Fury. Do you admit this? Do you dare to admit it? Of course I don't admit it, Su Yun said angrily. It's not that Dragon's Fury abandoned you. It's you who abandoned Dragon's Fury. Don't forget the oath you took when you officially joined the Dragon Fury team. When you violated your oath, you abandoned Dragon's Fury. You are the one in the wrong. Why can't you completely realize it until today? When Su Yun's inner demon was ready to move, his anger would be triggered to the extreme. Su Yun deeply experienced this. This feeling was like someone had stabbed his reverse scale with a dagger. At this moment, he only wanted to vent all the anger in his heart. This was the feeling Wen Xiao wanted. Only when he lost himself in anger could the inner demon break through the final psychological defense and completely burst out. Then have you thought about who I chose to give up Dragon's Fury for? Isn't it because of you, my boss, my Captain Yanlong? Come. Before Wen Xiao finished speaking, he attacks Tu's tigers dragons dragons tiger. His fists his two. Dies to die. This was a move created by Su Yin himself. This was one of the moves that Su Yin had developed after he was promoted to the Dragon Fury team's instructor. These moves were all fatal, and were definitely sure-kill moves. Not to mention his own brothers, even when facing ordinary enemies, Su Yin didn't allow them to easily use these moves. Because every single one of these moves was an absolute killing move, leaving no one alive. Su Yin didn't allow his brothers to use these moves easily, because they were too ruthless. It was easy to bring people into the thrill of killing. These moves created by Su Yin had been popularized in the Dragon Fury team, and the other members of the Special Forces had also learned them. However, in Wan Guangxiao's words, these techniques were only for them to learn and use in case of emergencies. However, under normal circumstances, these techniques were all forbidden techniques and were strictly prohibited from being used. With regards to Wan Guangxiao's prohibition, everyone in the Dragon Brigade naturally had to abide by it. At that time, Wang Yi had discussed this issue with Wan Guangxiao. He believed that Su Yin was definitely a genius. To be able to create such a move, in this world, only Su Chen's son could do it. This kind of ability required extremely high innate talent. Even if someone without innate talent could think of such a move, they wouldn't be able to execute it. Su Yun's were all sure-kill moves was given the name, Reaper's Flame, by Wan Guangxiao. He had also participated in Su Yun's creation, and was willing to be on the opposing side many times. After all, these moves were too dangerous. The only person in the Dragon Brigade who could guarantee that they wouldn't be in danger was probably himself. At that time, Su Yin wasn't the current Su Yin. If Su Yin had only created Reaper's Flame, with his current strength, even Wan Guangxiao wouldn't dare to become a human target. Yu Marin saw that Wen Xiao had used a forbidden move, and her heart trembled. She couldn't help but exclaim, "Run!" But it was all too late. Wen Zhao's inner demons had exceeded the limit of speed. In just a split second, Su Yin had no chance to escape. In that split second, Su Yin also responded. He didn't choose to escape. His jump was like an erupting volcano, so sudden and violent. While using this unexpected method to avoid Wen Zhao's attack, Su Yun's flying dragon slash was directly aimed at Wen Zhao's head. After all, this move was created by Su Yin. The essence and loopholes of this move, no one knew it better than him. That was why he was able to easily dodge the attack in such a passive situation. He was even able to attack at the same time. Similarly, Su Yun's flying dragon slash was also a sure-kill move in Reaper's Flame. If this move were to hit Wen Zhao's head would probably be smashed into paste. The originally swift and violent force borrowed the momentum of falling. This force was aimed at the most vital part of a person's head. Who could withstand it? Wen Xiao quickly raised his arms to block this attack. He knew all too well how ruthless this move was. On the battlefield, he had used this move to cut off the fates of countless people. But now, he was confident that he could withstand Su Yun's flying dragon slash. Because he had a powerful force backing him up. He was not afraid. But he did not expect the power of Su Yun's flying dragon slash. The moment his arms blocked this attack, pain and numbness spread throughout his body. It really made his knees go soft. With a thud, he knelt down on one knee. Every time his inner demon broke out, Wen Xiao had never felt pain. But this time, Su Yin let him experience for the first time. Even if he borrowed the power of his inner demon, someone could still make him feel pain. No, this was impossible. Wen Xiao was shocked. This shock came from the bottom of his heart. Even his inner demon, who was about to devour him, was shocked. How could a person rely on his own pure strength? But all of this was just the beginning. Su Yun's attack had just begun. Wen Zhao's Reaper's Flame had undoubtedly become the fuse that infuriated Su Yin. Wen Xiao was quite satisfied with this. He had never realized that he was so smart. If he had known, he would have used this killer move directly. Only this way could he force out the most perfect opponent in the shortest time. The anger in Su Yun's eyes was so hot. He believed that the one who used this move to deal with him was definitely not Wen Xiao. It was the demon that had been completely controlled by his inner demon. He had to completely extinguish Wen Xiao's inner demon. Only then could he save Wen Xiao from the abyss of suffering. When a person's inner demon completely devoured him, he would have severe schizophrenia. In other words, the current Wen Xiao had lost all rationality. All of his rationality had been defeated by the evil in his heart. Everything he did, he would listen to that evil. Chapter 1731. From the moment humans were born, their bodies were divided into two extremes, good and evil. There was a saying that humans were born good, but why were there so many evil people in the world? To put it bluntly, these evil people were controlled by the devil in their hearts. That kind of evil greed and desire would cause the original good in people to change. Huaxia had a saying that people who were kind would be bullied. This saying might not be correct, as it hinted that people did not need to be so kind, but it was not without reason. There were too many stories of evil people bullying good people in society, but this did not mean that good people would be bullied. In fact, evil thoughts always gave people a sense of power. This was the reason why Wen Xiao enjoyed the feeling of power that his inner demon gave him. As a martial cultivator, his body was strong and his roots were strange, so his evil thoughts were also more terrifying than ordinary people. It was called the inner demon. In so many years of history, martial cultivators who were destroyed by the inner demon could be found everywhere, which also proved the power of evil thoughts. This was something that was born from evil desires. If it was not restrained, it would be infinitely magnified. Now Wen Xiao no longer had any thoughts of controlling the evil thoughts in his heart. He only hoped that the inner demon could give him more power, give him the power to defeat Su Yun. This was Wen Xiao's current state. Wen Xiao used anger and indulgence of his inner demon to obtain an even more unbridled power. Su Yun was angry, which meant that the evil thoughts in Su Yun's heart had also begun to expand. Wen Xiao liked this feeling, liked an opponent with this kind of power. Wen Xiao, who attacked again, did not say a word. The power that he had accumulated for a long time suddenly exploded. His fists were like sharp blades, directly piercing towards Su Yun's face. This move, Dragon Tooth Thrust, relied entirely on the individual's physical fitness and explosive power. This was perhaps the only move in the Death God's Flame that did not have any movement skills. But this was the only move that did not have any movement skills, and it was not something that anyone could use. If one did not have a certain level of ability, this move would only make one suffer. Not to mention hurting the opponent, it was already very good if one did not court death. When Su Yun first created this move, Wen Xiao probably didn't have the ability to use it. His explosive power was far from meeting the requirements of using the Dragon Tooth Thrust. But ever since he borrowed the power of his inner demon, he began to realize that he could use the Dragon Tooth Thrust to perfection. Just by relying on this move, Wen Xiao had killed countless powerful enemies on the battlefield. Ordinary people would be caught off guard when facing such a sudden attack. There was no way to counter this move. Wen Xiao wanted to see just how Su Yun was going to withstand the sure kill technique that he had created himself. Even the creator of this move, Su Yun, couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart when faced with this move. Fortunately, after so many years, Su Yun had already figured out a way to counter the Dragon Tooth Thrust. Dragon Tiger Dance. In the face of Wen Xiao's sure kill move, Su Yun's figure suddenly danced like a group of demons. Coupled with the exquisite swimming dragon steps under his feet, he instantly made Wen Xiao lose the center of his attack. One must know that this Dragon Tooth Thrust did not allow for the slightest bit of hesitation. Once there was any hesitation, this move's explosive power would be greatly reduced, and it would completely collapse. Therefore, Su Yun made use of this point to create the move Dragon Tiger Flurry. Actually, it was very simple to divide it up. The exquisite swimming dragon steps under the feet combined with the disorganized mad tiger fists above the waist and abdomen would make him completely lose the center of attack. Although the Dragon Tooth Thrust was difficult to counter, when faced with a target that lost its center of attack, it would immediately lose its original power. To put it bluntly, it was the attacker's own hesitation that broke this dragon tooth thrust. The attacker himself was this move's greatest natural enemy. The fleeting moment of hesitation also let Wen Xiao know that his sure kill move had been broken. But he did not give up. While in the air, he forcefully retracted this move. Following that, using the advantage of being in the air, he nimbly changed this move to Su Yun's flying dragon slash. It chopped down towards Wen Zhao's head. Su Yun did not dare to rashly take on this violent force. He was not as confident as Wen Xiao, who was controlled by his inner demon, so he used the method of avoiding the sharp edge, and retreated to dodge. Wen Xiao stomped his foot on the ground, and several cracks appeared on the hard cement floor. From Wen Zhao's attack, his strength was definitely not weaker than Su Yun's. His mastery of the moves in the Death God's Flame was also not weaker than Su Yun's. To be able to change the Dragon Tooth Thrust's attack to Flying Dragon Slash, this definitely required an extremely high level of comprehension to do. Wen Xiao was clearly not resigned to the fact that his two moves had no effect. He did not dare to believe that the Dragon Tooth Thrust he used just now was actually broken by such a nonsensical method. Just now, the combination of Su Yun's swimming dragon steps and Mad Tiger Fists had a name that Su Yun came up with. It was called Dragon Tiger Flurry. This Dragon Tiger Flurry was not only able to break the Dragon Tooth Thrust's move, but it was also a nonsensical method to break any other sure kill move similar to the Dragon Tooth Thrust. But it was definitely not that simple. Firstly, the Swimming Dragon Steps and Mad Tiger Fists were originally two types of skills that were not easy to master. To be able to master one of them, that person was definitely not an ordinary person. Su Yun's Swimming Dragon Steps was nimble and swift, comparable to wave-like subtle steps and lightning transformation. It was definitely one of his unique skills. As for the Mad Tiger Fists, it had been modified by the Drunken Fist. It retained the classic drunken feeling and increased its slow speed. Therefore, the Mad Tiger Fist was more like a set of drunken fists that was sped up by tens of times. Once a person who was proficient in this fist technique used it, it would definitely dazzle their opponent and cause them to lose their footing. There were not many people who could master both of these skills to begin with, and those who were proficient in both were even rarer. To be able to combine the two skills like Su Yun, in the entire Dragon Brigade, other than Su Yun, there was no other person who could do it. One must know that the principle behind the Dragon Tiger Flurry was similar to the left and right inter-fighting technique. It required a person to be able to divide their body into two parts at the same time. The left and right inter-fighting technique was already something that only a peerless genius could create. As for Su Yun's combination of fist technique and foot technique, it was even more impossible for an ordinary person to master. Therefore, even though the Dragon Tiger Flurry was a countermeasure to the Dragon Tooth Thrust, it was very difficult to master. To master it as skillfully as Su Yun, it was even more impossible. Wen Xiao had seen this move with his own eyes, and knew that he could not replicate it. If Su Yun wanted to use the Dragon Tooth Thrust to deal with him now, then he did not have the ability to replicate the previous scene. He could only endure it. Therefore, Wen Xiao was 120% alert. He absolutely did not allow himself to let down his guard. Although the Dragon Tooth Thrust was scary, if you concentrated and did not give the opponent a chance to release it, then this move would not be so easily used. As expected of Yen Long, Wen Zhao's sigh was very sincere. I really can't believe that someone could combine the Mad Tiger Fists and Swimming Dragon Steps. Admirable, admirable. Su Yun was very clear that Wen Xiao was basically under the control of his inner demon, so he was very careful in dealing with it. This inner demon was a very cunning thing. It liked to take advantage of people's unguarded hearts. Therefore, if Su Yun's thoughts followed Wen Xiao, it would be very easy for him to fall into the trap of his inner demon. Wen Zhao's goal was to break Su Yun's shackles. Don't talk so much nonsense. If you think that there are any tricks in the flame of the Death God that you can use, then feel free to come at me. I would like to see how many lives you have sacrificed over the years in exchange for the perfection of your moves. Su Yun unconsciously put all the blame on himself. If he had not created this thing back then, perhaps Wen Xiao would not have killed so many people. Wen Xiao sneered. A ruthless green light flashed in his eyes. Don't worry, I will let you know that I am the most suitable person for these moves. Chapter 1732. The inner demon's fury had completely engulfed Wen Xiao. He could no longer control the growth of evil. Facing Su Yun's powerful strength, Wen Xiao was fearless as he pressed on. A thunderblade kick once again struck towards Su Yun's face. Wen Xiao's attacks were sharp and incisive, and Su Yun did not dodge at all. Facing the most ferocious kick technique in the flame of the death god, he countered Wen Xiao's attack with poison, and countered Wen Xiao's attack with ruthlessness. The sound of the two legs colliding was enough to make people tremble in fear. This kind of head-on confrontation was simply suicidal. Wen Xiao's mentality of not fearing pain and injuries allowed him to display an unparalleled advantage in the head-on confrontation between the two. Facing this, Su Yun had no choice but to avoid the edge of the spear. He had not reached the point of risking his life with Wen Xiao. His goal was to shatter Wen Xiao's inner demon's self-confidence. As long as he could completely shatter Wen Xiao's inner demon's self-confidence, it meant that Wen Xiao could still be saved. The impact that Wen Xiao's body could withstand was naturally not as strong as the inner demon's. Once he did, the one who would be injured would be Wen Xiao himself. Su Yun needed to grasp his own strength. Not only did he need to control his own strength, he also needed to be able to withstand the pressure that Wen Xiao gave him. Only Su Yun himself knew how difficult this was. He had never thought that Wen Xiao had already used the flame of the Grim Reaper to such perfection. Thunderblade kick, Gale stab, Meteor slash. Each move was aimed at Su Yun's vital points. As long as Su Yun was the slightest bit careless, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. It was naturally not easy to dodge these killer moves. After all, this was a forbidden technique that Su Yun had painstakingly created. Most of the time he had to face it head-on. Without sufficient strength, there was no way to withstand these killer moves. Su Yun did not dare to be careless. Fortunately, his Earth Fiend protection chi gave him enough protection. Otherwise, he would not have been able to withstand Wen Xiao's terrifying strength with the help of the inner demon. Even Su Yun's suppressive aura was unable to exert any pressure on Wen Xiao's heart demon. Heart demons were different from humans. They were unable to feel the suppressive aura. When Wen Xiao's soaring dragon's raging flames once again forced Su Yun into a corner of the air raid shelter, Su Yun realized that even if he was at the Earth Profound Realm, he still wouldn't be able to contend against a Grandmaster Realm expert who had completely unleashed the power of his heart's demon. If he continued to struggle like this, he would only suffer the final defeat. Yu Marin, and even Guogua, could tell that Su Yun had unknowingly fallen into a disadvantageous position in the current situation. Wen Xiao's inner demons were growing stronger and stronger. Every attack was so merciless, and every move was so insidious and vicious. At this moment, Wen Xiao had completely lost himself. He was completely controlled by his inner demons. He had already turned into a demon. He had completely turned into a demon. Su Yun realized that if he couldn't use an unconventional method, he wouldn't be able to solve this problem. There was only one way for him to completely defeat Wen Xiao's inner demons, and that was to let his own inner demons erupt and turn into a demon. Only by relying on the power of his inner demons could he defeat his opponent. Once that happened, would Su Yun still be able to control himself? In other words, was forcing Su Yun's inner demons to erupt the true goal of Wen Xiao's inner demons? These were all things that Su Yun couldn't consider. When he looked at Yu Marin understood Su Yun's thoughts. She was so nervous that she almost bit through her lips. She helplessly shook her head. She really didn't want Su Yun to be like that. Su Yun would make her feel at a loss. Every time Su Yun's inner demons erupted, they would torture him until he was neither human nor ghost. Even with Su Yun's unique and perfect physique, it was difficult for him to withstand the devastation brought by the inner demons. She couldn't believe that Su Yun could withstand the pressure brought by the inner demons. She also couldn't believe that Su Yun could suppress his inner demons in time after turning into a demon. Yu Marin didn't dare to let Su Yun do that. But what else could Su Yun do? Facing Yu Marin's desperate and helpless gaze, Su Yun had no other choice. If he lost to the demonized Wen Xiao today, he wouldn't be the only one to die. Yu Marin and Guogua would also die. The demonized Wen Xiao wouldn't let anyone off, including Yangzhen, who was curled up in the corner. Although Yangzhen was repulsive, he didn't deserve to die. It was his actions that led to today's events. But as an ordinary person, how could he have expected so many things to happen? If he had known earlier, he definitely wouldn't have done that. He also didn't want to die. He also had his wife and children. He also had his family and career. But now he could only stick his head deep into his pants. He was afraid that if he wasn't careful, his neck would be broken. Truly, a pitiful person must have a hateful side. Su Yun's hatred towards him had no meaning. He had to make a choice. He needed to give himself enough confidence to release his inner demons. He needed to use his strong will to suppress his inner demons after everything was over. But all of this was unknown. Su Yun had never had such a terrifying thought. He actually wanted to release his inner demons. This was simply a form of self-destruction and torture. Moreover, Su Yun had never been able to use his own strength to suppress his inner demons. All of this made Su Yun fall into a state of complete confusion. Once again, Wen Xiao used Dragon's Tooth Thrust while Su Yun was at a loss. This time, although Su Yun used Dragon Tiger Flurry to neutralize Dragon's Tooth Thrust's killing move, his left arm was injured because of his distraction. This time, Wen Xiao didn't hesitate. Even if it wasn't a central attack, he still used it. With his left arm injured, Su Yun had no choice but to retreat a few meters to avoid Wen Xiao's attack range. Wen Xiao, who succeeded, also greedily enjoyed his breath. His mouth revealed an evil smile. This smile obviously wasn't something a normal person could reveal. Facing Wen Xiao's terrifying inner demons, Su Yun finally couldn't control himself anymore. He had to use unconventional methods to solve today's problem. Bang! When the evil anger in his heart completely exploded, Su Yun's expression began to distort. His smile, his expression, and his voice seemed to be a completely different person. I want you to die. Su Yun's voice was like a demon from the gates of hell. Yu Marin's heart sank. It's over. Everything is out of control. Su Yun's inner demons have completely exploded. The person standing in front of her now was no longer Su Yun. Su Yun let out a slight gasp. Facing such an opponent, Wen Xiao was completely excited. That's right, this was the kind of Su Yun he wanted. What he wanted was a Su Yun who was filled with evil energy. Only this kind of person was worthy to be his opponent. Only this kind of person was worthy to have a peak battle with him. When Su Yun's body was like a shooting star, Wen Xiao also didn't hesitate to meet it. Facing Su Yun's beheading claw, not only did Wen Xiao not avoid it, but he also met it head-on. The result proved that Wen Xiao overestimated his own strength. When Su Yun's hands grabbed his head like an iron clamp, he knew what he was going to face. Su Yun's explosive power directly threw Wen Xiao into the sky. Wen Xiao, who had completely lost his ability to resist, suddenly became a fish on the chopping block. He could only be slaughtered by Su Yun. What kind of powerful strength was this? When did Su Yun become a demon? A demon that could completely tear people apart. Wen Xiao didn't dare to believe it. Could it be that the difference between his strength and Su Yun's strength was so big? When Su Yun's inner demons exploded, he actually became completely unable to fight back. They were not on the same level at all. The huge difference in strength was like a heavy hammer, ruthlessly hitting the weakest spot of Wen Xiao's inner demons. Chapter 1733. Su Yun's sudden outburst was like a gust of wind blowing towards Wen Xiao. Just when Wen Xiao thought that his strength was comparable to Su Yun's, the power of Su Yun's Yanlong's unparalleled seemed to have come from beyond the heavens. It was not something an earthling could withstand. Even though Wen Xiao had already made full defensive preparations, he was still sent flying by Su Yun's attack. He didn't even have the chance to resist when he landed. His entire body was scattered all over the place. His defense was exposed, and he was completely defenseless. If Su Yun followed up and made a move in time, Wen Xiao would have been killed instantly. After all, Su Yun's inner demon had already been unleashed. If it wasn't for the inner demon's interference, he wouldn't have been able to send Wen Xiao flying with one blow. Wen Zhao's strength was completely insufficient to withstand Su Yun's heavy blow. How terrifying was this? It was simply inconceivable. When Zhao's face was filled with surprise. He couldn't accept this kind of defeat. Could it be that the difference between his inner demon and Su Yun's inner demon was so great? The power that could have allowed him to look down on heroes and have unlimited power over life and death suddenly became worthless in an instant. His arrogance, confidence, and conceit were all shattered in an instant. When Zhao's eyes widened, and he almost staggered to his feet. Su Yun's Yanlong's Unparalleled was Su Yun's unique killing move. Other than Su Yun, no one else could learn it. That was why it was named after him. Yanlong's Unparalleled was a move that could almost make Su Yun invincible in the Dragon Brigade. When the Dragon Brigade fought, there was an unwritten rule that Su Yun was not allowed to use this move. Of course, this was different from the forbidden move in the Flame of the Grim Reaper. Yanlong's Unparalleled could be used by others, but no one could use it. It was a move that could only be truly unleashed by a combination of nimbleness, craftiness, and boundless explosive power. No one else could use it. That was why this move was called Yanlong's Unparalleled. Other than Yanlong, no one else could use it. What a great Yanlong's Unparalleled move. With the continuous improvement of Su Yun's strength, the boundless explosive power required by this move was becoming increasingly insufficient to support Su Yun's nimble movements. Perhaps Su Yun could only unleash the full power of Yanlong's Unparalleled when he borrowed the power of his inner demon. When Su Yun was forced into his most terrifying state, he could absolutely make anyone tremble in fear. That's right, Su Yun's strength was just that terrifying. Su Yun's strength was just that terrifying. Even if Wen Xiao had been completely devoured by his inner demon and turned into a demonized Wen Xiao, there was no way he could be compared to Su Yun when his inner demon was unleashed. At this moment, Su Yun did not continue to attack. This allowed Yu Marin to see a glimmer of hope. In the past, when Su Yun's inner demon was unleashed, he would completely become an unstoppable attacker. Su Yun's inner demon might not be as rational as Wen Zhao's inner demon. Su Yun's inner demon was full of hostility. Once it started, it would continue until Su Yun's body could no longer withstand the control of the inner demon, and he went into a coma. This time, Su Yun unexpectedly stopped. Of course, Yu Marin was surprised. Could it be that Su Yun could also start to control the power of his inner demon? If he could control and suppress it like Wen Xiao, then she would not have to worry about something that she could not handle. However, this pause was very short. Su Yun's eyes flashed with a trace of black flame. In that instant, Yu Marin even felt that the person in front of her had nothing to do with Su Yun. Indeed, at this moment, Su Yun was struggling, very struggling. When he released his inner demon for the first time, he was indeed attracted by this powerful force. When his peerless flame dragon sent Wen Xiao flying, who was barely able to injure him, a faintly discernible voice reverberated in his heart. That voice told him, "Do you see, this is real power, this is pure power. What are your previous powers compared to this power? They are simply trash. Only this is the supreme power. Only this power can let you do whatever you want." This voice filled Su Yun's heart with unprecedented satisfaction and expansion. Of course, at the same time, Su Yun's heart was filled with nervousness and panic. This panic made Su Yun lose his rationality, lose his calm, and become more and more unable to control himself. Such a powerful inner demon required a lot of willpower to control. It was impossible for Su Yun to have such a strong mental fortitude to control his inner demons. Just like what was said before, there was a demon in everyone's heart. The source of all evil thoughts was this demon. Even the kindest person in the world would have evil thoughts at one time or another. Who could deny this? Even if it was a good person, who dared to say that they did not have any evil thoughts, greed or lust? Impossible. A person who said that he did not have any evil thoughts, greed, or lust was definitely Yu Buqian, an absolute hypocrite. There was no perfect and good person in the world. A good person could easily control the evil thoughts in his heart. And an evil person could casually release their evil thoughts and all other evil thoughts, greed, and lust. Su Yun was no doubt a good person. He did not allow the evil thoughts in his heart to erupt, so he was a good person. But now that his inner demon had completely erupted, Could he still be considered a good person? The answer was obviously something that even Su Yun himself could not answer. At this moment, his heart was filled with all kinds of evil thoughts, killing, possessing, and destroying. And Su Yun could only use his weak strength to fight against the inner demon. This made the inner demon, who was supposed to follow up with a furious blade slash to kill Wen Xiao, stop its next move. It was this moment of hesitation that gave Wen Xiao a chance to catch his breath. But when Wen Xiao stood up again, Su Yun's inner demon began to go out of control again. The pressure that erupted from his body did not belong to Su Yun at all. This pressure was filled with evil and the smell of death. Guogua could no longer bear this pressure, and hugged Yu Marin's back tightly. At her age, she was indeed unable to bear this kind of terrifying pressure. Not being knocked out by this pressure was already the limit of what Guogua could bear. And Yu Marin was also filled with fear. Her body was almost unable to move at all. Even though she had seen so many terrifying auras, she had never felt anyone's aura as terrifying as Su Yun's. And Yang Zhen, who was curled up in the corner, had already fainted. He could no longer bear this kind of fear. This kind of fear had broken through the limits of his heart. He could no longer bear it. He could no longer bear all this. Perhaps fainting was the best ending for him. At least he did not need to continue to be on tenterhooks. At least he did not need to bear the torture that this kind of fear brought to him. When Xiao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, the severe internal injuries made it very difficult for him to support his body. The complete sense of defeat made him seem a little out of sorts. Why don't you continue? Just kill me like you did back then. Su Yun slowly walked towards Wen Xiao. And Wen Xiao was not afraid of death at all. Come, do what you didn't do perfectly in the past. Just pull out my heart and see if it's still red. Come. Yin Long, let me see with my own eyes how you're going to do it. I have no regrets dying in your hands. Come on. Come on. Wen Xiao screamed hysterically, his voice echoing throughout the air raid shelter. Come on. An invisible ball of anger exploded behind Su Yun. Chapter 1734. At this moment, Wen Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body fell to the ground with a thud. The so-called evil, the so-called demon, seemed to be powerful, but it was actually the weakest thing in the human heart. They were very timid. They were very afraid of trouble. The demon in the heart was actually a coward. When the power of evil realized that it was facing certain failure, the fear it generated would be the greatest fear in the world. Many times, evil forces would appear in society. Even ordinary people would be driven to commit crimes under the influence of the demon in the heart. Whether it was robbery or burglary, it was all because of the demon in the heart. Some people would say that this was courage. Indeed, if one was not courageous, how could they be so arrogant to plunder other people's private property? If one was not courageous, how could they be so arrogant to invade other people's private property? But this had nothing to do with courage. No one would say that a robber was courageous, and no one would say that a rapist was brave. Their courage was only caused by the demon in the heart. Before these things became reality, the demon in their heart would tell them to do it without worry. I will give you the power to complete it. Once they succeeded, the demon in the heart would take credit for it. That's right, this was the demon in the heart that gave them the courage to do evil things. But what if they failed? When an evil force was suppressed by the true courage of the people, would it still have the courage to resist? The answer was obvious. No, it was absolutely impossible. That so-called courage was not brought about by one's own courage, but by the cowardice of a kind person. In the face of those evil forces, if everyone could bring out the courage and strength to resist it, then this evil force would instantly vanish into nothingness. When Wen Zhao's demon in the heart realized that its strength was not enough to compete with someone who was dozens of times stronger than it, all its confidence vanished into nothingness. All its strength also vanished into nothingness. The feeling of defeat could instantly destroy a person's demon in the heart. The moment Wen Xiao fell heavily to the ground, his demon in the heart vanished into nothingness. Without the strength to support himself, Wen Xiao completely lost the courage to stand in front of Su Yun. He knew that he could not win, so he completely gave up. Wen Xiao, who had suffered a heavy setback, also experienced the pain that his body brought to him, and the pain that he had brought to others for so many years. This was a kind of feeling that death was better than living. Meanwhile, Su-yun, whose heart's devil had erupted, was still struggling to hold on. He was like a person with a split personality, constantly changing his character. It could be seen from Su-yun's eyes. Every time the black flames in his eyes burned, his entire body would exude the fear of death. He would excitedly look at Wen Xiao, who had been beaten to the ground by him, and when the black flame was suppressed, Su-yun's eyes revealed pain and uneasiness. He really did not want to kill Wen Xiao again. Wen Xiao was his brother, and this was not the first time he had made him like this. Only Su-yun could understand this kind of heartache and uneasiness. Yu Marin really did not know how to help Su-yun at this time. Before Wen Xiao fell, Su-yun was still completely controlled by the demon in the heart. And the moment Wen Xiao fell to the ground, the black flame in Su-yun's eyes also dissipated in an instant. Yu Marin did not dare to say whether Su-yun was the real Su-yun at this moment. Although Su-yun had stopped his next move, and although the black flame in Su-yun's eyes had dissipated, the evil aura that he exuded still made Yu Marin feel fear. This was the most powerful demon that Yu Marin had ever seen in her life. Her understanding of Su-yun's demon might not be weaker than Su-yun himself. When Su-yun fainted because of the battle with the demon, that was the most important night for Yu Marin. Not only did she feel Su-yun's gentleness, but she also felt the cruelty of the demon. That feeling was still fresh in Yu Marin's memory. Her fear of Su-yun's demon was no less than Su-yun's fear of his own demon. "Boss, you've won," Wen Xiao said in a low voice while gasping for breath. His voice was filled with self-mockery. "There's really no right or wrong between us. But I just want you to know that everything I've done, it wasn't for myself." Su-yun suddenly hugged his head in pain and knelt on the ground with a plop. At this moment he was like Sun Wukong, who was chanted by Tang Sanzang. That kind of pain was unbearable. Su-yun struggled to stand up again. The black flame in his eyes was faintly discernible. Sometimes it was hidden, and sometimes it was fleeting. At this moment Su-yun was suffering a great deal of pain. Yu Marin was shocked. That's right. Su-yun was fighting with his demon. Even if such a powerful demon controlled Su-yun's soul, Su-yun still did not give up resisting. He finally tried to use his own strength to control this powerful demon. In the past, Su-yun did not have this kind of awareness. The demon was too powerful in the past, and Su-yun did not believe that he had the chance to control it. Now, the one who could give Su-yun this kind of confidence was Wen Xiao, who was lying on the ground gasping for breath. It was Wen Xiao's performance that made Su-yun realize that the demon was not something that could not be controlled. Since Wen Xiao could control the demon and his own body, why couldn't he give it a try? That's right, he wanted to resist. Su-yun, who had never thought that he could resist, made an important decision in his life. He wanted to resist all of this. He wanted to fight against all of this. Why did he always willingly succumb to the demon's control? Why did he always lose because he could not withstand the demon's power? The heart-wrenching roar made Yu Marin feel so conflicted. Guoguo's little heart also felt like it was being squeezed by something. Even breathing became difficult. She had never seen such a terrifying Su-yun. She could not imagine the pain that Su-yun was suffering at this moment. All that was left was to pray and pray. Su-yun suddenly grabbed his throat with both hands. This way of putting himself to death quickly made Su-yun kneel on the ground again, due to lack of oxygen. Obviously, his body was still under the control of the demon. And Su-yun's reaction showed that Su-yun was at a disadvantage in the battle with his demon. Otherwise, he would not control his hands to strangle himself. However, this action also reflected a piece of good news. Su-yun's demon had also developed a sense of fear towards Su-yun. Although Su-yun was at a disadvantage and could not control his body, Su-yun's demon was also under great pressure. Otherwise, the demon would not use this way to destroy Su-yun's body. It was also using its own body to force Su-yun to give up. Su-yun, who could not breathe at all, opened his mouth wide but still could not feel a trace of oxygen flowing in. At this moment, he really wanted to give up. The fear of death would always shake the firmest confidence of human beings. Just when Su Yin was about to give up struggling, he saw Yumarin and Guogua's nervous faces less than 10 meters away from him. If he was controlled by the inner demon, it would only take an instant for the two of them to suffer unimaginable damage. If that was the case, Su Yin would be in even more pain and unable to forgive himself. No, he could not give up so easily. If he was going to die, the demon would also cease to exist. That way, it would not hurt the people he cared about. At this moment, Su Yin could no longer care about himself. Chapter 1735. Obviously, Su Yun's attitude of facing death with equanimity gave him a considerable advantage in the battle against his inner demon. If Su Yun's brain really died from suffocation, then his inner demon would also vanish in a puff of smoke. After all, the inner demon was a kind of spirit, an evil heart that controlled people's hearts. It had no physical body. If Su Yun's body did not exist, and if Su Yun did not have such a strong body to bear it, then this terrifying heart demon would not have been able to grow. Someone once said that the strength of the inner demon proved the strength of a person. This was not an exaggeration at all. A person without enough strength could not breed an inner demon. For a weak person without the strength to tie up a chicken, even if his inner demon wanted to erupt, what could he do? A person who couldn't even handle a chicken, what could he do even if he had extreme strength? He would probably still not be able to form any deterrence or threat. What the inner demon wanted was a strong enough person, a strong enough body. Facing Su Yun's physique, which was hard to find even in 100 years, how could the powerful and terrible inner demon in his heart really bear to destroy it? The inner demon could spy on everything about Su Yun. When Su Yun really had that terrible idea, the inner demon naturally gave up this threatening method. It knew whether Su Yun would really do what he thought in his mind. When Su Yun did not want to die, it could control its body and force him to withdraw from its control by strangling himself. When Su Yun faced death with equanimity, it knew that this method was ineffective and had a high risk, so it could only give up. When Su Yun's hands let go of his throat, he gasped for breath. The feeling of surviving a disaster made Su Yun clearly feel his own existence again. Even if the inner demon was becoming more and more arrogant and biting back at his spirit and control, Su Yun could still clearly feel his own existence. This feeling made Su Yun excited. This excitement was not something that ordinary people could experience. Only Su Yun himself knew this feeling. He could find himself in the depths of his soul under the erosion of the inner demon. This was definitely an indescribable excitement. Su Yun seemed to suddenly wake up. He suddenly stood up and shouted at Yumarin and Guogua. "Take Guogua and Wen Xiao and leave this place first. Quick! It'll be too late if we don't leave now." Yumarin's body trembled. One must know that Su Yun's heart demon had already erupted. For him to be able to say such words, it was obvious that he had suppressed his heart demon, which was why he was so rational. As soon as Su Yun finished speaking, he felt a strong vibration in his mind. He knew that his inner demons were fighting back, trying to regain control of him as much as possible. "No, we can't leave. You are in too much danger now." Although Yumarin was also excited that Su Yun could actually reverse control in such a situation, she was also very clear that this might only be a moment. Perhaps everything that happened next would become even more terrifying. She could not leave Su Yun alone. Su Yun, who had erupted with his heart demon, could fall into a coma at any time and fall into a life-threatening situation. If she was not present, how could she guarantee Su Yun's safety? "If you don't leave, then I won't be the only one in danger." Su Yun tried his best to endure the pain in his mind and said, "It knows everything in my mind. You are my weakness. If you don't leave now, you will become a tool for it to use and control me. Hurry up and leave. Take Guogua and Wen Xiao and leave." Su Yun was really struggling now. He was in a lot of pain. That kind of pain was not just for show. That kind of pain came from the heart, from the bottom of his heart. It was an explosion of his demonic nature that he had to do everything he could to control. He knew that he could not hold on forever. He had not found the trick and foundation to control his inner demons. It was impossible for him to control them as freely as Wen Xiao. Wen Xiao, who was still motionless on the ground, had tears in his eyes. He did not expect Su Yun to mention him in the list of people to be protected twice in a row under such circumstances. Su Yun did not only let Yu Marin take Guoguo away, but also him. Wen Xiao, moreover, Wen Xiao, was now just a cripple. He could not help with anything. He was just a cripple who would drag others down with him. But why would Su Yun not abandon and give up on him when he was like this? Previously, when he was not a cripple, Su Yun had already given up on him. Why was he still thinking about his own safety at this time? Why? Wen Xiao could not understand Su Yun's world. He could not understand what Su Yun was thinking. If he could understand all of this, perhaps he would not have made such a stupid choice back then. He would not have walked down such a path of no return. Su Yun could not give up on any of his brothers. Even if Wen Xiao was now having difficulty even moving on his own, even if Wen Xiao's insistence caused his inner demons to erupt, Su Yun still would not blame Wen Xiao. He would not give up on Wen Xiao. He could not do such a thing back then. Wen Xiao thought that Su Yun had abandoned him. He had given up on this brother who had gone through life and death with him. Actually, that was not the case. Su Yun had not given up on him. It was because what he had done had affected the country's interests. It had affected the secrets of the Dragon Brigade. Su Yun had not abandoned him. Instead, he had abandoned a person who could not control himself, and had to abandon righteousness for the sake of his brothers. Su Yun's heart ached too. Su Yun did not want that either. Su Yun had no choice but to do so. Su Yun had no choice but to do so. If Wen Xiao could calm down and think about it carefully, he would realize that the person who had abandoned him was not Su Yun, but himself. He was the one who had abandoned his duty and mission first. That was why he had fallen to this state. He could not blame anyone else for this, much less Su Yun. Su Yun had done enough for him. In an instant, this man, who had only shed tears when he was ostracized by his brothers who had gone through life and death with him, could not control his emotions again. Guoguo, take Wen Xiao and your sister Yu and leave quickly. After Su Yun's last roar, Wen Xiao's face was filled with tears of pain and relief. He suddenly realized that he had found the answer. All these years, he had no right to ask Su Yun for anything. He owed Su Yun an apology. Wen Xiao finally understood that he was the one who had embarrassed Su Yun back then. He was the one who had made Su Yun carry such a heavy burden to attack him. He was really too willful and insensible. All the mistakes were on him. It had nothing to do with anyone else. Guoguo and Yu Marin were the same. They did not know what to do. She knew that Su Yun's judgment was right. It was the right choice for them to leave this place quickly. It was also the only choice. However, she could not make this choice. Guoguo was smart and sensible enough. However, she could not make such a huge choice now. This was not about an answer. Hurry up and leave. I'm here. Wen Xiao's trembling body stood up bit by bit. He had exhausted almost all of his physical strength to support his body with his weak and powerless knees. This kind of limit of endurance was not something an ordinary person could achieve. Wen Xiao's ability to stand up really surprised everyone. The most surprised person was Su Yun himself. He knew very well what kind of damage his attack had caused Wen Xiao. This kind of damage was probably the highest damage besides death. However, Wen Xiao was still able to stand up and face him after suffering such a heavy injury. Yu Marin's mouth was wide open, but she could not say a word. She could not believe it. She really could not believe it. Guoguo seemed to suddenly understand why those people in the Dragon Fury team could swear to live and die together. This was not just an oath, not just a promise, not just a heartwarming sentence. This was a brotherhood that they would never forget under any circumstances. Wen Xiao chose to stand up again to tell Su Yun that today, he was going to be the brother who would live and die with him. Chapter 1736. Su Yun's mental strength was gradually wavering. In order to make Wen Xiao leave, he had to provoke him. I don't need you to stay here. Since you can still stand up, then hurry up and leave. I don't need a coward to pity me. I can solve my own problems. Wen Xiao looked at Su Yun without saying a word, but he raised his hand and gestured to Yu Marin and Guoguo to leave quickly. He wouldn't leave. No matter what Su Yin said today, he wouldn't leave. Because he had too many experiences on how to control his inner demons. At this moment, Su Yin needed his help. Phew. All the past grievances and hatred seemed to disappear with a sigh. Wen Xiao never thought that one day he would stand in front of Su Yin in such a state. He also never thought that he could really find an answer from Su Yin that could let him let go of the past. It was just that when Su Yin was suffering such great mental torture, he could still think about the safety of a cripple like him. Wen Xiao didn't know how to forgive himself. For so many years, he hated Su Yin for giving up and abandoning him. It was only at this moment that he realized that he was the one in the wrong. It was he who gave up his beliefs and his duty, which made Su Yin choose to give up his brother. It was all because of him. Otherwise, even if Su Yin died, he wouldn't abandon his brother. He was wrong, really wrong. A mistake that even he couldn't forgive himself for. Yu Marin was in a difficult position. Her eyes kept wandering between Su Yin and Wen Xiao. What should she do? Su Yin asked her to leave, and Wen Xiao also asked her to leave. But if Su Yin couldn't control everything, what should she do? Not to mention the current Wen Xiao. Even the powerful Wen Xiao just now was helpless when facing Su Yun's inner demons. That's right. There was nothing she could do. Even Wen Xiao couldn't control Su Yun with the help of his inner demon, so what could Yu Marin do? She couldn't do anything. She couldn't control Su Yun. She didn't have the power to do so. Her presence was of no use at all. Right now the only thing she could do, was to take Guogua away. To ensure Guogua's safety. This was not only her duty, but also the result that Su Yin wanted to see. More importantly, she was protecting a huge asset for the Dragon Brigade. This was what she should be doing now. Yu Marin finally made the decision she should have made. She picked up Guogua and ran toward the big iron gate at the entrance of the dugout without looking back. I can't go. Guogua reacted quickly. She tried to struggle out of Yu Marin's arms. She still remembered the last time Su Yin stood in front of her like a killing god. At that time, she was the one who calmed Su Yin down. She believed that she could still calm Su Yin down. Sister, you put me down. I can't go. However, Yu Marin didn't care about Guogua at all. She knew that Guogua was still young, and there were many things that she couldn't understand at her age. Therefore, she needed to use her own actions to restrain Guogua. She needed to let Guogua know what she should and shouldn't do. However, Guogua didn't think so. Guogua thought that she had the power to do all this. She thought that she had the experience. Facts proved that Yu Marin's decision was correct. It was different from the past. In the past, whenever Su Yun's inner demon erupted, it was because he didn't want to do it. It was a kind of self-expansion of the inner demon. It was because he blamed himself too much that it produced a violent aura that broke the shackles of the inner demon. However, it was different this time. This time, Su Yun's inner demons erupted under his self-indulgence. It was a kind of self-indulgence. It was because of this self-indulgence that Su Yun couldn't control himself. Therefore, the inner demons that erupted in Su Yun's inner demons this time were many times stronger than before. This kind of strength was also an unprecedented challenge for Su Yun. More importantly, today was the first time Su Yun tried to use his mental strength to suppress the terrifying inner demons produced by the evil aura in his body. It was impossible for Guogua to use her existence to stimulate the spread of love in Su Yun's heart to counteract the eruption of killing intent like last time. Yu Marin ignored Guogua's struggle and directly brought Guogua out of the abandoned bomb shelter. Outside, Yang Zhen's car was still running. Yu Marin didn't care so much. She didn't care about Yang Zhen's life or death. She directly threw Guogua into the front passenger seat and prepared to drive away. Guogua was too important. Nothing could happen to her. However, before she got into the car, Guogua had already opened the door and jumped out of the car, wanting to run back. Yu Marin hurriedly stopped Guogua again. Guogua, you have to listen to me. Remember, I'm responsible for everything that happens to you this time. Ensuring your safety is the mission given to me by the chief. This is my duty. This is something I have to protect. Do you understand? You can't go. This is an order. But if I follow this damn order, what if something happens to my father, Su Yun? Guogua was also a little angry. She had never been so worried about someone before. I don't want to. I have to go and accompany him. Even if there's no way to help him, I'm willing to do it. What are you willing to do? You can't do anything. You'll only hurt yourself. Yumarin was also angry. She was angry at Guogua's immaturity. However, Guogua was still a little girl after all. Her intelligence might be different from ordinary people, but she couldn't be as rational as an adult when it came to emotions. Furthermore, Guogua hadn't been in the Dragon Brigade for long. She didn't have the belief that her life belonged to the country and not her own. She wasn't perfect yet. So what if I hurt myself? Guogua cried. In an instant, her tears fell. If it wasn't for Su Yun's father, I wouldn't even know where I would be now. Maybe I would have died in the hands of some lame cats. If it wasn't for Su Yun's father, Cho Yun wouldn't be where she is today. She said that if it wasn't for Su Yun's father who saved her in time, she would have died long ago. If it wasn't for Su Yun's father, my mother wouldn't have been able to continue running the medicinal cuisine restaurant. She wouldn't have been able to own her own medicinal cuisine restaurant. She wouldn't have been able to enter Sky Entertainment and display her talent in management. It's all because of him. I can't just stand by and watch him die. Guogua couldn't control her emotions anymore. Yumarin's tears also flowed out. She knew everything. If it wasn't for Su Yun, many things would have been so terrible. It was because of him that many terrible things became beautiful. Of course she knew that. But this wasn't the time to be emotional. No matter what, she had to ensure Guogua's safety. Even if she had to sacrifice her own life, she had to ensure Guogua's safety. This was her mission, her duty, and the only thing she had to do now. Even if Guogua would hate her for the rest of her life, she couldn't let Guogua enter this dugout again. Guogua, trust me. He can solve all problems. To him, nothing is a problem. Trust me. Yumarin gritted her teeth. She picked up the struggling Guogua and carried Guogua to the trunk of the car. She opened the trunk and locked Guogua inside. During the whole process, Yumarin couldn't stop crying. She understood Guogua's feelings all too well, because when she was that age, she had also experienced the same thing. She and her younger brother had also been taken away like this in order to protect them. And the parents who were the closest to them in their lives were right in front of her eyes just like that. Yumarin shook her head frantically. She didn't want to think about these things. She didn't want to think about it anymore. She only knew that it was the right thing to do. As for Guogua, she would naturally understand when she grew up. And to be honest, Yumarin was willing to believe in Su Yun. Just like she said, she believed that there was nothing that Su Yun couldn't handle. He could definitely solve problems and turn misfortunes into blessings. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.